Hello, everyone. I'm so professional today. I've got it together. We're doing really well. Everything's coming together perfectly. Oh, cool. The thing just crashed with the music as soon as I clicked it. Great. It's going great. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the stream. It is us. We're all. It is all of us. This also needs to reset. Holy shit. That is insane right? How much everything just has gone wrong. Yeah, I got locked out, guys, and scrambling to get back. Why does this not work?
Back to life.
Back to reality. All right, what is going on here? That is not what I want. This is what I want. Yes. Refresh that. Will that work? No. Okay, great. I have no idea if the goal bar is working. Hey, don't die.
We're doing an episode. Hey, I fixed that, motherfucker.
Well,
I fixed that shit by myself.
I don't believe you.
I'm so proud.
I'll wait until I see it in action.
You want to know what it was? Did I told you what it was, right? It was integers. It was so annoying.
I feel like you just. Did you just? What do you know what integer means?
Oh God. Okay. None of that.
Attacks on PB now deal double damage.
Yeah, seriously. Oh boy. Look at that couch chair. Moz, it's not even a couch chair. It is just my couch right now. My couch chair.
On the couch. Yeah, can one of you intro the show?
If I wasn't streaming before the stream, I was going to drag my couch over and do it.
And so we could be on the couch. I love that.
That is actually better for the non-effort of the show as well.
Yeah. I did get a chair though, and it is a boat. I'm calling it Richard Lean Anderson. I'm so excited. I got a cover for it. It's like twice my size. It's gonna be great.
Oh my God, it's fixed. Holy shit. Sorry.
If you don't know what non-effort is, everybody, this is it.
Welcome in.
This is it.
Yep.
What's happening right now?
Enjoy.
The unintelligible nonsense of three idiots.
Well, excuse me. I used the word integer, so there's some intelligence.
2.5 idiots.
I'm going to be eating my dinner.
Ow!
2.5 idiots are just trying to get by, and we need your help. That's right. To help keep Tablestory alive. We do this podcast. And PB tries not to hurt herself further. In case you're wondering where PB has been, PB has destroyed her back. She was in the gym. She hit a 500 500-pound deadlift PR.
Yeah, make me sound awesome.
And and she was like, "Oh, my back." It definitely wasn't just leaning slightly to the left.
Bro, that is like, obviously the pain is the worst part, but the second worst part is when I have to explain to the doctors what happened. Because they're like, did you fall? And I'm like, no, I was lifting my walking pad, and I guess I just lifted it wrong. And how much does your walking pad weigh? I don't know, maybe 20 pounds.
If it makes you feel any better, at all, I have injured my back just turning my shower on.
Yeah. They basically said, oh, that's normal. At your age.
Uh-oh. You see...
Oh, no.
I forget who it was. If it's like Nate Bargatze that does this bit where he's like going to the doctor now is like its own interesting journey. Because before a certain age, when you go to the doctor, they're just like, what the fuck are you doing here? Just get the fuck out. Like you're just wasting everybody's time. Just get the fuck out of here. And then as soon as you hit like 35 or something like that, they let you in, they stop doing that, and then they like
Yeah.
close the door behind you. Like,
Oh.
I think we need to have a chat. You know, like
Yeah,
it's one
we
of
need to
those.
talk. We
Yeah.
need to talk.
All right.
Luckily, the doctor who saw me was still like, oh, you're a little young for this and that, so we'll do these and that. So that felt pretty good. But everyone else has been like, oh yeah, that's normal. Even at the pool doing physio, I met a woman who's like 3 times my age, who's like, yeah, I have 4 of those ruptured discs, and I was like, whoa, I just have the one. She can barely move, dude. No thanks. No,
Devastating.
thank you. Yeah. Really, really, really bad.
Welcome to
Anyway,
Anyway,
non-effort.
how's your dinner?
I'm so sorry.
good.
I'm eating food.
Mm-hmm. Well, how is it?
It's awful because I had to make it in 5
Oh.
minutes. It is literally rice with salt and pepper in, and chicken with a Cajun rub that I just put on it, threw it in the air fryer, and ate them separately because they cooked at
Oh,
different times.
Yeah, that's right. Yep.
He's not mentioning the fact that the rice is still dry. You know, like he just threw it in the air fryer.
Show us the rice.
dry.
Rice is fine.
Yeah, rice looks good.
Rice, I put in the rice cooker thing, but I didn't have time to eat it because I was locked outside with 3 people who didn't speak the same language as me and didn't speak the same language as each other. It was insane. And then
Nobody knew how to get in.
Yep, and then I came in, and normally I would have been eating in that time, but I didn't have time to eat in that time, and I had to make the stream go and set everything up and then start the stream.
And I'm over here high as a kite, like, is the show in 15 minutes or am I like an
I
hour
was like
early?
running in, throwing the keys on the
think-
ground. The dog's super
I
freaked
think I
out.
even sent a message. Is today Friday?
Turns out it was, much to all of our distress.
To be fair, that is like a standard streamer question.
Yes, it is. It is.
Is today
But still.
Friday? Because 90% of streamers have no fucking idea what day it is at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of questions, there are questions on the screen that we will get
Are
around
there?
to.
Ooh. Oh yeah.
That we will get around to
Ooh. That
answering.
first
Do
one.
they smell of piss?
Do the questions smell of piss?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
It's non-effort, so we're obviously still not doing Don't Die because PB called in sick.
I'm sorry,
Half
guys.
a job,
I'm so
PB.
sorry.
Can't be
Mhm.
bothered.
I feel
Um,
genuinely. I feel really badly about it.
I
I've been
don't
losing
think
a little
here's
bit of sleep
see,
over it.
normally I would believe you,
Yeah.
but we have evidence that you don't even want to GM your own show when you're in good health. Maya did it.
What do you mean?
Maya was
Oh,
GMing
that's
your show.
different.
Greg is GMing your show.
That's because I hurt myself.
And I think that actually goes against your character in a court of law. And I think we have good evidence to show that you are being
Oh, okay.
lazy right now and
Okay.
that you haven't
Yep.
injured yourself. You're even sat
Yep.
on a sofa. I
I
mean,
am.
phoning
It's
it in.
excellent. Mm-hmm.
So we're not doing Don't Die because it is significantly more it's significantly more difficult to GM than it is to sit and talk about GMing. But 2, you'd have
You
to
also
be
have to like move. I
you
know
have
it
to-
sounds
you actually
stupid,
do
but
need to
I
be
have
able to move.
Yeah.
because you're doing so
quickly.
much stuff,
Yeah.
and you're also reacting so much, and you stop worrying about. You turn off the pain inhibitors in your brain,
Yep.
and you just forget.
And then I'm
about-
gonna be
and then
doing
you're
stuff, and
gonna do
then
so much damage
afterwards.
to yourself.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That it's
Like
not
it
worth
took me a while to realize how much damage I was doing just like sitting at the computer for 10, 15, 20 minutes maybe. And then the next day it would be like crippling pain. And it took me a while to figure out, oh, it's because yesterday I sat in my chair for 15 minutes doing stuff. Nope, can't at all. I just have to.
Yeah.
So PB lifted her
Keyboard.
couch over her head.
Yeah.
and
Do you know how
placed it in
long
front of
took a very long time. Just slowly, whoop, a little at a time. It took me like half a day.
Jesus Christ.
the couch 5 inches and then
Yeah,
fall
pretty
asleep
much.
for 3 hours.
Yeah.
Just pop
Luckily,
another pain
it's, like,
pill.
not that far. Yeah.
They give you strength as well. Those pain pills.
Yes, they do.
they're-
The strength of ignorance.
which
don't know
is
what's
the
happening to
most
me. It's
powerful
fine.
strength.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Anyway, so
a
we're doing another
superpower.
non-effort. As much as you're all sick of non-efforts, you're just I've been getting the hate mail every week.
Really?
Yeah, bring back Don't Die. We hate non-effort.
Say that. It's not true, first of all, and second of all, I feel guilty. I'm feeling guilty.
Why doesn't PB love us anymore?
Oh, stop.
Yeah, so we're gonna do another one. We've pulled some questions from the chat room. Now PB is finally back. So the first sort of question / topic is we were talking about evil campaigns a couple weeks ago.
Hold on, I need to interject. Stop worrying about your posture and just like it's okay to be slouched.
Okay.
Yeah, just
I'm not
be.
upset at you.
Well, then I'm
The
not.
point of you being
I'm gonna
on
lean right back, dude.
the point of you
Yeah.
being on a sofa is so
Yes.
that
I just
you
watched. I
can
watched
sit.
all the agony on
Yeah.
PB's face
Mhm.
as she just
As I was like-
slightly adjusted. Like,
By the way, I was
Get back.
against.
I have an ice
posture.
pack
this.
too.
I was against
Mhm.
PB being here. She was
I
like,
know he
please,
was.
please, please.
He's-
And I'm like, you're
He's been fighting me the
gonna
whole time.
be doing
Yeah, but you know
quiet,
what happens?
passive damage to yourself, even though
I know, and you're right.
I
You know
know
what
I am.
happens though, and it's the most fucked up thing in the world. Cause like I know you obviously, but so you'll tell me like no, guys, he's been so good. He'll just be like, no, you can't do that. I refuse, and stop doing the green room. It ends like right now. I'm texting Greg to tell him to stop being on
how'd
the
you know
fucking.
about that? Did he tell you?
You told me.
Oh.
You said I will text Greg, and then Greg looked down like where a phone would be and then cut the fucking call. So I was like, oh, he did it. The fucking bitch did it. But I was secretly thankful because I was in a lot of pain. So
He's dying.
to be fair, I didn't even think we were doing a green room. But then Miranda's like, can we?
I
green
know,
room
I
so
know
we can talk
exactly.
about
I know
this? And I
exactly
was
what you're like. And then you're like, but they're having so
Yes.
much fun having a conversation. I'm like, they have forgotten that you're dying. One of the people there is orcish.
Well,
Get out.
They were just excited.
Get out of the call.
speaking. Okay. Well,
Get out
but
of the house.
the story is that you've been very good about being like, no, you can't do this. Just stop worrying about it. It's not a problem. But then on your stream, you do your bit, right? Where you're like, pee, and oh, it's so annoying and I hate it. And it just like ekes into my
You must
brain. And I'm
never-
like, oh no.
Yeah, and I'm actually pissed off that you're like revealing who I am off stream.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I got a
Well,
rep
you're
to
not that
hold up.
person here. Sort of.
Trying to summon him up. I'm trying to summon him up right now.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I'm not. And yeah, you shouldn't be here. And I was against it, but she's here
Yep.
because
But I'm
honestly,
here.
she terrifies me. And if she wants to,
I'm also dying of boredom.
it's so boring. I know exactly how you
It's-
feel
I'm
because I was so unwell for 6 months last year, and I
Yeah.
was just you're trapped. You're in jail. You're in a
Yeah,
jail
yeah.
cell. You're in solitary
Yeah.
confinement, and it is so.
And the worst is like people will
mind-numbing.
message and be like, hey, you up for some Marvel
Oh my
Rivals
God, and you
and
have to
stuff?
keep
And I'm
saying
like,
no to people.
no, I really shouldn't, but I want to. And I have been bad and been like, oh, I'll try for a little bit. That's when I started realizing even like 20 minutes was not good and I just really can't do it. But yeah, it's like you're having FOMO because everyone's like hanging out and you're like, oh, I want to do that. But no, I can't. I just have to lay here and
Be bored.
I've
and
been
be
playing
bored.
I've been playing Final Fantasy though. The story's very good. But there's only so much of that I feel like you can take before you're like, I just want to get up and move.
You got to do, yeah. It's
I just want to do some
horrendous.
things.
just being stuck,
Mm-hmm.
and you just want to do something. You want to be productive, and you start feeling
Yeah.
lazy, and you're like, oh, I just want to do this thing.
So
that
I've
you
been writing, so there's that at least. Keeping myself busy in that way, like
Maybe he's got-
creative juices.
10 campaigns in the old queue, ready to go.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. No, I'm not writing a campaign. I'm writing a fucking little book, like a dumb little book, because I'm so bored. I'm just like, I guess
So you're
I'll just.
calling Aaron dumb?
Wow.
No. I'm saying my little thing that I am writing is non-effort.
Yeah, no, Aaron's dumb though. Don't worry.
Those
Yeah.
are terrible.
Yeah. So, if you would like
Mhm.
us to talk about some of the topics that have been submitted,
Which are evil campaign, player expectations, architect versus what the fuck does that say? I'm too far from my
Garden writing.
fucking screen. Thank you. Garden writing. What? What does that even mean?
was, if you know
I'll
PB,
tell
that
you.
was real. That was real rage
That was
there for
true
a
rage.
second.
Yeah, that was
true
micro rage.
rage.
Yeah,
that was micro rage. If you
yeah.
missed it,
Yep, that was a real frustration at being unable to see, unable to move closer to my screen, and just I want to die. GM poker faces, which I did not just have, and chat question, and then PB tells a story. These bastards.
Yeah, we need topics from chat so that I can add that to the chat question. So if you could, in the chat room here, type a question or a topic out, something that you've been curious about, something that you want us to talk about. It doesn't have to be about DMing. It can just be, what do let's chat about this thing, I don't know, dogs. But we'll add that. We'll grab one from the chat room and we'll add that to the bar. I don't think the bar is working, so let me just mess with it again because it's unbelievably annoying.
While you mess with it, I need to draw attention back to Wax's impeccable ability to pick up on micro rage. I need to know how you developed this skill if you're comfortable talking about it.
I genuinely don't know. It's so I watched. There was that one show, Lie to Me, with what the fuck is his name? Tim something, the guy that played Abomination in the Incredible Hulk movie, and
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth. Yes, thank you. Tim Roth was in that, and they talked about micro expressions. That was the first time that I ever thought about it.
Is Greg here? That's hilarious that Greg got that. I can't see anything right now.
So that show came up, and that was the first time I ever thought about it. So when I started thinking about it, I started to analyze it on people's faces. That's about it. I don't think I ever really did anything to activate it in my brain or anything like that.
Did you grow up in a scenario where you had
flyers?
Yeah, where you had to kind of
I don't think so.
Determine people's moods based on their micro expression?
Maybe.
Because I did.
Maybe
so
it was
I mean, it
could have been like a bully defense. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder if I wouldn't be surprised actually, because you kind of got to watch when the body language is going to switch, right? Where you're actually in danger.
The only thing I can think of is I was a poor kid living in a rich area growing up. So from 10 to 18, I was living in a very, very rich area. So I had people in my school, and it was a public school, but it really kind of wasn't. It was like a public school for very rich kids. So there were some billionaires that went to the school. Like I think one billionaire's kid that was at the school. And I remember our bus, at one point, my bus went up it was just like a hill, and it was just like, that's where all the rich people were. Like they were just you'd go up and the houses would just be, 4 times, 5 times bigger than everybody else's house. And I don't know if it was that, because I don't know if there was a lot of lying. There was plenty of people that were just like straight up assholes.
That's a survival in itself, I think, personally, because you have to kind of fit in and assimilate, or they will treat you completely differently, right? If they recognize that you're a poor kid, which they knew anyway, but you know what I mean? Like,
I was wearing the same clothes all the time, and they knew.
Yep.
It wasn't hard to figure out.
Because I had something similar in one of the towns that I grew up in was fairly wealthy as well. And you'd have it was crazy because you'd have this like subsection of kids that were very clearly like, wearing the same clothes, farmers' kids. And then you had the like extremely wealthy families and those kids. And it, it was like polar, but we had both.
It could have been that. It could have just been I was extremely awkward my entire fucking life, really. And maybe I was looking to see like people's reactions to see if what I was doing was awkward.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could have been something like that. I don't know.
I believe that.
But that was when I started watching that show, that's when I actually thought about it. And kept an eye out for that stuff.
Mhm.
My boss that I used to have was always really easy to read. Like, I didn't really have to try very hard to read. I don't know if he had micro expressions. I feel like it was all macro expressions.
Yeah.
My mom maybe like was pretty good with the micro expressions, so maybe I trained on that.
Yeah.
That's a good possibility. My mom was lying a lot growing up. So it could have been that. I don't know. With you, I think like there's you try really hard to keep a poker face, and you have poker face, and you also have like it's
Masking.
like you it's masking for sure.
Well, yeah,
it's
because it
also-
wasn't safe to feel emotions for me
Yeah.
growing up.
Yeah. So you definitely have the masking stuff going on for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, we hang out a lot.
Sometimes-
so I mean,
Yeah, we hang out
Yeah.
a lot, and I will feel comfortable enough to be able to express my actual frustration with you. And then there's like, times where I cannot hold back, like my summer fucking car. That fucking game, dude. I hate it so much. Some of that rage is not real, but some of it is.
listen,
Some
if
of
you
that
guys were
is
wondering
genuine.
what
Mhm.
PB's going to do for the welcome back stream.
Oh God, no, no, please no. I'll hurt
Hey,
myself
listen,
by
You
accident.
got to generate money.
Let's not talk about it. I don't want to think about it.
Gonna
gonna
actually
pass
get
out.
herself. She's gonna get to the point where she vomits thinking about my summer car, and the vomiting is gonna injure her back
I can't
and
even
cause a chain
sneeze.
reaction.
It's bad. Okay. There I was on Instagram the other night and I'm scrolling through. I think I sent them to Brad, or I told Brad that I was dying laughing. But I had had my fucking gummies too, which I was totally fine, by the way, not laughing. But once I got started, that was it. I was laughing for an hour straight and in unbelievable amounts of pain, but I couldn't stop laughing. It was unreal. No. Wouldn't wish this on my greatest enemy.
You have you streamed yet on your channel?
No.
How long have you been off?
I don't want to think about it. It's going to stress me the fuck out.
Why
Like 2 weeks,
Doing
3
this
weeks.
to her?
2 weeks.
Don't do this to me. It's probably like closer to 3. I don't want to think about it.
3 weeks.
You're
Oh, man.
freaking me out. You're freaking me out. You're
Sounds
freaking
like
me out.
sounds like you haven't been making a lot of money, so
Oh my
maybe
God.
maybe they could help out by just a tip here
Okay.
and there.
Nope,
tip-
that's fine.
A tip on the old tip bar. I have no idea if it's working. It isn't working, but it is filling. It's something.
That's contradictory.
No. The bar is wrong. It's like broken,
Okay.
and the graphic is wrong. But the bar, but it is filling up somehow. I don't know how it's done this, but if I completely reset it, it will
In
lose.
OBS?
Yeah.
Oh.
So
Okay.
yeah, if
Well,
I
how about-
completely reset it, it will lose itself. But I
have
think
an idea.
it's still fine. It will still fill up and hit the marks. It just doesn't have the notches.
Yeah,
Oh.
the notches are gone.
So
Okay.
the only way to really find out
I was going to
is
say just like do like an underline as a text in source in OBS and then move the line in OBS manually as it goes up. Hey, it's a quick fix, but it would work.
it goes against the name of the show.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. It does require.
Yeah,
some
I
effort.
mean, the only way to find out is with cold hard cash, which PB needs to buy
No, stop
pain
it.
meds, or
Stop.
she will die, guys.
Stop it.
She will die
Stop it.
if you don't provide us with
I'm
enough
just gonna.
money.
I'm disconnecting from the call.
That's
I can't even
can't-
reach it. So
Yeah, you can't even reach it. I was just about to say. I was like, she can't,
I'm
guys.
stuck.
She's fucked.
Okay.
trapped.
She needs to like pull up a desktop app on her phone just to like
Mm-hmm.
navigate on the screen on the computer.
Hey, there we go.
Yep.
It is working. Cool. Great.
Yes. Thank
Couple
you
of
so
tips
much.
coming in. Thank you very much. I knew the blackmailing
Thank
you would work.
you.
Wack has been teaching me.
No.
Wack has been teaching me how to emotionally
Guys,
blackmail in your
guys,
absence.
No, I know, because I've been watching every single episode, and let me tell you, the number of times I was like, like actually feeling anxiety when Whack would make those jokes. I was like, oh God, guys, I
Aaron
can't.
was the best
I'm
at
gonna
it,
puke.
of all
I'm gonna
people,
puke.
you know?
Yeah. Well,
We were going to bring him in to be
Yeah.
a hype man on Don't Die. Cool. It's working. Thank you so much. Leo, that's a big one as well. Thanks,
Thank you.
Leo. You have such a big one. You have the biggest one of everyone so far. Everyone else has been anonymous. Omega.
oh my God.
Big one from Leo. And yeah, we hit the first
The first topic.
So this was something that came up, I think, 2 weeks ago. Maybe when Myth was here, and I said I had a really good
Can I
idea.
interrupt you for a second? I'm back. You missed me, didn't you? Thank you, chat. I just want to say thank you before I forget, because I am medicated, and I will forget. That's it. Continue.
Holy shit, could have said it.
Anytime. But I
Anytime.
wanted to say it right then.
So at some point, I don't remember what we were actually talking about, but we ended up talking about running an evil campaign, and I said I had a really good
What does
idea.
that mean?
Where the player characters are evil.
Oh, hell
aligned,
yeah.
or,
Okay.
or
Yep.
villainous,
Mhm.
you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said I had a good idea for an evil campaign, and that I'd want to talk about it one day or something like that. And then yeah, so then I said remind me to bring it up as a topic, and we can discuss it when PB's back, which is now.
Right now.
She's here. Most of her is here.
Okay. Like
so
80%.
yeah, April reminded me. PB and Jay Lee also said, I want to hear more about the evil campaign topic. How would you
Yes.
run a campaign where all the player characters are evil/villains? Is essentially the question.
So that's difficult because I feel like, depending on your definition of villain, they might not work cohesively together. But Gary brings up a very good point. Does Ungodly count as an evil campaign? When I originally wrote Ungodly, it wasn't a comedy. And it absolutely was an evil campaign of like, you're all playing murderers or something. You've done something fucking horrific. You're chained together and it's like 3v3 and only one of you is getting out of hell. And so, yeah, it was going to be them versus each other. I was going to do team fight. So that's one way that I would.
I think it was still a bunch of
It
evil
probably
people.
was. Yeah, it
Yes.
probably still was. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Well, yeah, because that part didn't change. They had still done some terrible shit to wind up in hell. But yeah, it ended up being a comedy. But yeah, if I were to run a serious villainous campaign, I wouldn't want you to know as a viewer that they were villains in the beginning.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I would want you to be like, yeah, I totally get what they're doing. And then they do a horrific thing and you're like, what the fuck? And
I mean,
then
you're kind of running. I mean, Deathless. Are they good guys?
No.
Not really.
I don't think
no
so.
one in,
I told
and it started
Yeah.
off in VTM. You're not
Oh, you
really
know
a
what?
good guy. It's just degrees of evil, isn't it?
but it's what we were talking about before, repurposing your ideas that you don't use. Because I used that. I used the ungodly thing and I did it in Deathless. I sat them all down and I was like, what did you do to get trapped in a fucking coffin for 500 years? You've done something. You were accused of something. Now you don't have to decide if you've done it or not, but what were you accused of? And then there's going to come a moment in the show where you're going to have to decide, did you actually do that thing or not? I'm not going to decide for you. But yeah, it's something similar in Deathless. They're not the good guys, but it's hard when you're watching something, you're kind of like, you want somebody to root for. And so you do kind of end up, and I think in Deathless, the only one that's really done anything truly villainous at this stage is, Zambi with eating the thing that we all love. But everybody else is kind of
Penis.
so far not really, yeah, exactly. Not really done, they haven't really gone out of their way to do something completely horrific, except for maybe, that's not true. Trench and Murgles did. They murdered some people. But yeah, everybody else has kind of been like, I forgot because it happened in the podcast part before the show was on screen. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think I would like to run a very classic, like D&D. Your characters
Mhm.
are evil aligned, and you are the villains of the setting, and the bad guys are good guys trying to stop you. You know, I think
Yeah.
that would be fun to do. The problem with like running something like that is literally having, like, what do you do outside of that? Like, that's
Yeah.
one episode. Like, what then? What? Do you
Well, it's
become?
the choices, right?
That's the
That's what
thing. Like,
makes yeah, that's what makes people think somebody is a villain. Well, actually, what people think people are villains because of the result of the choice, not necessarily the choice, like what the effect has on it. So you could technically run a bunch of, paladins through something, let them make the choice, but just showcase the effect of their choices, and people will be like, that's villainous. These guys are bad guys because
yeah,
their
but
decision rocked an
you.
entire town or whatever,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to do it like that though. I mean, they literally start out and they are Skeletor, and they
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
castle, and there's lightning continually cracking behind it, and they are the villains. They are the Strahd of the area. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it is them.
That
That's
would be
it.
hard for me to do unless it was a little bit comedic, personally.
I
Just because I've
yeah. I mean, it would be hard for it not to be comedic. I'm not saying
Yeah.
it isn't comedic. I'm just saying this is what
Yeah.
I want to do.
yeah.
I just think that the thing that's hard with that is, one, what do you do? Like, you don't get to do the
Yeah.
normal D&D stuff. Like, if they go to town,
I mean, you could.
they're just going to kill everyone in town and steal all this stuff from the merchant, and that's just like, I mean, okay,
Yeah.
but like that's
I don't know.
what I think is hard about doing that kind of a
Mm-hmm.
campaign.
They're just murder hobos.
Yeah, you're just sort of being like, okay, you're allowed to be a murder hobo, so
Yeah.
play like that then, I guess, which is like, it could be, again, I think that if you play it comedically, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Because then you're Skeletor and you're.
If you were
roaming
trying
around
to play it straight, kind of, or
Mhm.
just like, the way I run stuff is like fluid, basically. If the scene is funny, it's funny. If it's serious, it's serious.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah, but
I-
you can go into it going, we're doing side quest, and side quest is meant to be fluid, where you can flow from serious to, comedic back and forth. But then you've got something like Ungodly, where it's like, just say what the fuck ever, guys, because it's, this is comedy. There will be no seriousness to this at all. And then if there is, cool, but you can go into a show with a mindset of like, this will be comedy or this won't be comedy, I think.
Or you can just do the thing that always happens, where you're just going to make the show like it's super serious, and immediately it becomes Monty Python.
Yes.
which is what happened with me
Yes.
with side quest. I really went into it like, this is going to be
Mhm.
my magnum opus. It's going to be serious. The writing's going to be so perfect, and they've destroyed it within seconds.
It's perfect. I love it.
Every plan goes to shit immediately.
Yep.
Anytime you sit down and you're like, I want this to be a dramatic campaign.
Mhm.
It's going to be,
Well, I
my
never do
character's
this.
name is
to be
shit
fair.
fart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost never do this with setting that kind of tone. But you're right. The moment you do, like, I was going into Cura like, it's probably going to be pretty dark because I'm opening up with an apocalypse.
Yeah.
And I was like, I think I want, I think it's probably a better idea that I like tell them like, you might want to play this seriously. But then I was like, I can't, because it's a secret that the world is immediately going to end. So I was like, I guess I'll just see.
Wait,
what
you
they-
don't. Whoa, back up. You don't do like a tone in your session 0?
No.
No, you don't. I'm now remembering back to every session 0 I've ever had with you. You do not do that at all.
I start playing.
You go away, make a character. And I remember, because you're right. I went away and I made Rin, and I came back and I was like, this might be too dark for whatever you have
Some
going
people
on. Is
ask
this
me, yeah.
acceptable? And you were like, yeah, this is great. You
It's
have
fine.
no idea. This is fine. I was like, okay. But you're right. You don't go
Because I
into
can go
it
with the
saying,
flow, like whatever
Yeah.
the vibe is. but I knew with Cura, I was like, I think, you can tell. You're like, it's because of the story and the adventure that I've laid out and the characters that I'm bringing to it. The tone for this one's probably going to be leaning a little closer to serious. This one might be a little more funny. This one's just going to be all over the place. I like my shows to be able to go back and forth. I like my shows to have those moments of like levity and just, we're all laughing and then switching it on and everyone's like unbelievably serious, because they're also good at acting and shit that I can do that as well and just be like, go fucking, this person's, you're holding Dobby. But with Cura, I was like, I think I need to somehow surreptitiously make them all make kind of serious characters. Yeah. And Leah came to me immediately and was like, I'm going to play a comedy turtle who's an old woman. And I'm just going to have fun with this character, and she's just going to be like pure comedy and dumb and
That's
stupid.
What I said to you about Suna too. I was like, oh, this is going to be my comedic character. And you were just like, and then put them through the paces and they change.
Yeah. Because I can manipulate and mold you into whatever I need you to be. Because that's DMing, baby.
Like 3 or 4 jokes that I was like,
I know, I could see it.
Not going to do that.
Yeah, no, I just sort of know that I can. I mean, it's Maya's least favorite thing about me as a GM is that I will just place you into a situation.
Has he told you that, or are you just like calling him out here?
It's just a meme.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Hates the way I GM. He hates.
Oh, he's written you a letter.
He has sent me
expressing these feelings.
He has sent me so much furious hate messages about how he played a monk in a setting with only undead to fight, and that he didn't get to utilize any of his monk stuff because it doesn't work against undead creatures. Yeah. And I said, why'd you make a monk then? And he said, don't ever speak to me again.
Okay.
He didn't know it was going to be an undead setting, is essentially the point. Because you don't know what's going to be in front of you.
See, I won't do that. I don't mean to interrupt you, but like if I see somebody's making a character sheet and I know half their character sheet isn't going to be viable in the setting, I will tell them.
I didn't know that, by the way. I still don't know why he mechanically couldn't use his thing against undead. I have no idea what his complaint is. I know he's right. That's all I know.
But I'll do it with like smaller mechanics
you wouldn't
too.
do
like
it
if
I'm
not
it blew the secret of your show.
I will find a way to tell them without blowing the secret of the show.
How are you going to do that with Maya?
I did it with you and Speth and John. Like you guys had no idea what was coming.
None of those people are Maya. You've never faced a challenge like this before.
Hold on. I'm trying to think of like if there was anything in Kingmakers that he wanted to do where I was like, oh, don't focus on that. I'd have to ask him. He'd probably remember. But I do, if I feel like someone is going to like utilize a mechanic in a system that I feel like I'm not going to even use that much either, I will say something. I will be like, don't focus too much on this ability, or don't put too many points in here, which I did in Deathless, because I knew we were going to be switching systems. But I didn't tell them that was why. I basically was just like, we're not going to be focusing on that DTM mechanic. Well. Yeah.
But I don't. The thing is, I don't really look at what they're making exactly. I'm just like, go make a character and then come back to me with it, because I don't need to babysit you through that process. You've all played before. I'm doing all this other stuff over here. And he went away and made a character that I guess is not very good against a lot of undead stuff. No one else in the world would normally care. It's the only thing he thought about for an entire year. Didn't tell me till the end. And now tells me every
He'll
week.
never speak to you again. Yeah.
Mentions it.
I love that he waited the whole time.
It doesn't.
He didn't want to fuck up your DMing.
Talking about it. Then
it was very kind of him.
He made a ranger
when you think about it.
And I put him in a city.
The monster.
I didn't know it was going to happen, and I had a lot of fear building up.
To be fair, they do have urban Rangers. They have. I think that's one of the things you can do.
Stop speaking to me about ranger classes. Did you know there is an actual like dragon rider?
Oh, there it is.
I didn't know this. Okay, but there is an actual. It's called a Drake Warden. And they
Is
get
this
a
some
little
like homebrew shit, or is this?
Nope.
Is this official?
I don't think
Nope.
it's in
Is this one of
2024
the new
though.
books?
No,
Okay.
It's not in 2024 yet. It came
It's
out
in
after
the
fucking fucking D&D game I was
His
in,
Bones or
and now
whatever
it's
it's
not in
called, Treasury?
2024.
Is it that?
Yes, and I may have gotten the book, even though I'm not
Definitely
running
got
it.
the book. Definitely
did.
got the book.
It's not here yet, but yes, Fizban's Treasury of Dragons for those who are curious. Got a lot of dragons in it. Anyway,
Yeah.
speaking of rangers,
I don't know what we were
Cool.
talking about. By the way, I am so tired.
okay.
This is one of those days, I think, for all three of us, probably.
We're talking about the evil
But
game.
evil
Yeah,
campaigns,
I want to know
I
how
would,
Whack would do it.
I would just do it like, I would try and do, that is what I would try and do, is a full-on, like, normal D&D campaign. Because my point, as much as PB was trying to derail it,
I'm sorry.
was that I build a setting and you build characters and I put you in it, and then we see how those characters deal with whatever is placed in front of them. Because
Yeah, the sandbox.
I think that's fun. And then my adventure is my adventure regardless of who you are. Your character has to deal with it based on whatever character you want to play, rather than completely fully scripting all of my characters like PB does and making them do what I want them to do.
I don't do that.
I let my
I just am
players
there
make
with them.
whatever character they want, rather than
I
telling
do
them that
too.
character's not going to be any good in this
No,
campaign.
no. I
Change
don't
it
say that.
And stick to
just
the advised
Listen,
character classes that I've provided you in the PDF.
you're a monster. I don't do that. If I know that half their sheet is going to be fucking useless, I try to find a way to warn them to focus on something else.
I'll be honest with you,
That's
I
all.
don't want you ever
Myth
to
will
do that
never
to me.
forgive me. Myth will never forgive me for Rhyme of the Frost Maiden.
did it
and
to
not
him with the
telling
poison.
him.
I've had that happen
With
to
the poison.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I, have a character sheet and then it was just like I arrive and then the GM was like, "Oh, we're not, doing that."
Sounds
and I
like
was
a
like,
bunch.
"Well, half
Sounds
my
like a bunch of bad role
half my
players to
fucking
me. That's what that
Here's-
sounds
sheet
like.
is useless. It just doesn't
Here's-
feel good when you can't use the."
Yeah, no,
Here's
it is
the
boring.
question. Here's the question for Myth, which is, you knew that this is going to be in the frozen north in Rhyme
Yeah.
of the Frost Maiden.
Yeah.
Why did you pick Poisoner? Like,
Yeah,
shouldn't
Rhyme
you
was
do the research
definitely
as
on Myth.
opposed to me telling you exactly what monsters are going to be there?
Oh, I don't want you don't want those kinds of details, but a heads up of like, well, I think you're right. I think that was on Myth. Sorry, Myth, but it is called Rhyme of the Frost Maiden.
It has frost in
Probably.
the title.
Yeah.
He made it to rhyme of the f, and then he got distracted by a rolling apple. And made his whole character and showed up for session one.
Brad's
Yeah.
keeping a little scorecard for how much he injures PB tonight.
Yeah.
With laughter. That's like a
I don't want to
bonus
injure
credit
it,
he
to
can
be
put on
fair.
his
I
business
actually
card.
I should like be less funny, because I'm gonna feel bad about it. But here's the thing.
Impossible.
I do want to hear what Whack has to say as well, but I'm going to talk
Yeah.
first for longer.
Okay.
So like one of the ideas, I have like a really good idea that I kind of don't want to burn, but I do have an idea which is like the essential. Imagine you are the evil
I'm imagining.
skeleton queen,
Okay.
and you have your like maybe
Okay.
three
Uh-huh.
closest minions who are and you're all basically CR30 monsters in this setting.
Okay.
You're Strahd, you're like, you're Queen Strahd of the thing. Everyone fears you. But
Okay.
then you get defeated
I'm feeling it.
by
Oh,
a
okay.
bunch of heroes.
Mm-hmm.
The heroes defeat you, and when they defeat you, it knocks you back down to level 1. And then we play the game of how do you bring it back? And it
Yeah,
isn't going to
how do
be,
you-
you can't just like murder hobo into
Slowly
town
invade.
because the
Yeah.
heroes will show up and stop you. And they are now your CR30 monster They
You
are
know,
your
that
villain.
would be fun.
That's
if you could find a
essentially
way
how I would do
to,
it,
yeah,
I think.
you know, it would be neat to kind of do a full takeover, like almost political in a way, Game of Thrones,
Yeah,
where it's
whatever
like,
you want to do.
you know, do whatever the fuck you need to do to
Reclaim
take
power.
control over this area and reclaim power. Yeah, that's kind of cool.
And
I like that.
That would be fun. I don't know. I mean, you almost have to rewrite the book because they don't go on like normal quests. You know what I mean? They have to do these strange things. So like, what do you put in front of them to
Like,
give
what
them
if
the option?
one of your quests is like, you know, lure the virgin into the cave and sacrifice her in a ritual to gain
it's stuff like that that you'd have to do, or like lure guards away from posts and stuff so that you can like let monsters in, and like the more damage you do to the city and to the heroes guild, the more XP you get, or something, you know, or
I like that.
influence. And it would have to be stuff like that, but I think it would be quite hard to do with like 5e in particular, or a D&D or something, or a Pathfinder. I'm not sure if you would want to do it in those systems. But if I were to do it, I guess it would have to be so homebrewed. You know.
I think doing those custom quests is pretty fun. That's a good way around it too.
I think that would be fun to run though. And I think it would be interesting because you could kind of play it seriously, but I do think it would be a really fun adventure if it was kind of funny. And you were like the overlord. Yeah. But you go back to being just a skeleton. Yeah. You know, just a little chibi skeleton.
Or you've got, you know,
you're a
overlord.
Monster, whatever you are. You're a monster as well. Like you're in the monster
100%.
manual. So like
100%.
you shift and change. You don't have to be like just a guy.
You could also do it where, you know, Skeletor Queen is still, you know, giving you orders and you just got to go and do the evil things, right? You have your guild. It's just an evil version of that guild, or
I've played whatever. In that, and I've run something once that was a bit like that, where you are a minion and you're sent by the big bad evil guy to do quests that are just inverted hero quests.
Basically just like, you know, that's very cool. I like that too.
Yeah. Now,
I think
everyone has been waiting to hear what Whack would like to do as his evil or bad campaign. But first, I'd like to speak a little more. No, I don't really want to speak. I want to go to bed.
Yeah. He just wants to pass out. Get PB to send.
I had the longest day yesterday. It was crazy, and it was such a good, like, none of it, apart from the very end of my day, was worth it. How crazy is that? I got up so early yesterday. It was astonishing.
Can I tell you the worst part about my day today?
No, I'm talking. And then I went to the hospital for no reason. And then I came home and did nothing because I can't nap. I couldn't like nap or whatever. And then Whack was like,
"You did nothing. Are you sure?"
And then Whack said, "Hey, do you want to stay up till fucking midnight?"
It was worth it though. It was incredible.
And being maybe the best episode of Main Character, which is insane because how good episode 1 is.
Yeah.
And I said, fine, if you need me to boost it that much, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those were the words that he used.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, PB, you were going to talk.
No.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry. Now you have to say it. You have to do your thing.
It's just the pool was closed because it's a holiday. And so I didn't get to go for my swim. And
that's rough.
Yeah, I'm sad about it.
It's like the only thing you have in the day to do.
Yeah, super real though. Yeah. I look forward to it every day.
Putting on
it's
those
also
floaties,
closed on Sunday too. No, I didn't.
Those water wings and
I can't fucking believe that. Does Tablestory community even know this story? Brad, why don't you tell this story and we can interrupt Whack even further from telling his evil campaign?
Of piss
they can
was covered on
the
wings.
They can unlock it.
I don't know why I believed you. You say stuff and I just believe you. I think that's just me as a human.
Which is insane, by the way. If that was Whack.
I know. Yeah. I know it's insane. Anyway, Whack,
it's like the
tell
one
us
thing
about
I
your
tell
evil campaign.
people. There's a warning on my own channel not to do that.
Yeah, I know.
That comes up.
I know. Well, okay. To be fair though, you weren't streaming, okay? you had just sent me a message.
I don't
so
think I'm
believed
that
you.
different offline. I will say some crazy. If anything,
Well, yes, but
I know I can
okay,
get
but-
away with worse shit with you guys,
Well-
where I can just be like, I reckon I can get whacked to move to Bolivia. If I just say this in the right way,
in my
and that would be
defense, I laughed
hilarious.
first. I laughed and thought you were joking, and I was like, haha, no,
Because
I'm not
you
getting
laughed and thought I was
floaties.
joking, I thought you knew
You
I was
went
joking.
harder. No, yeah, well, but
And
then
so,
you
yeah,
went
that
harder, and
went
you
in.
were like, yeah, it would make me feel better if you did. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess he actually cares about my safety. All right, sure. I'll get some fucking floaties. Jeez.
He will send you to hell so
I
that
know.
he can get a screenshot of you sending a picture of you purchasing the floaties. And if he can get, he's got his own like little goal set up in his brain. It's
Yeah.
like the tip.
I'm not
goal
even
that
in
we've got
control
on
of them. The
sidebar.
demon inside of me is.
If he had not given it away and he had just been like, thank you, that makes me feel a lot better, and then asked for a pic with the me with the floaties, I would have done it,
100%.
dude. I would 100% done it.
He's got
He almost
you guys,
had me.
If you really know Brad, he's got a goal bar, just like we've got on the side here of non-effort, where we take your tips and actually help keep Tablestory alive.
But it's keeping himself
he's got a
alive
goal bar.
with
Yes,
your.
it's keeping himself alive. Yes, exactly, 100%. It's keeping himself alive, and it's
Oh,
like, all right, I'll just
God.
a little funny white lie. That's the evil campaign tier, right?
Yeah.
And then the next
Uh-huh.
one is going to be like, I wonder if I can make her buy something silly.
Yeah.
And
then
the top
next
one is make whack move to Bolivia. Yeah, but
and then
I want.
Brad will live to be 150. Like if
Yeah.
he hits to the top, it's
Yeah.
the only
Yeah,
way to
I
keep
d- I- yeah.
himself alive.
I don't really need food and water as much as everyone else because I have a third resource that I need, which is whatever that is. Evil juice.
Evil.
And I
Evil but hilarious.
it has
Yeah.
to be
Say that.
funny. And it will be,
Yeah.
but it's like
Yeah.
it does come at a price. I don't, you know what?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Look, I'm not in control of it. Whatever that is, it isn't actually me. There's a demon that lives within me that
Uh-huh.
thrives off of the
Bradley.
sustenance of this mischievousness.
Yes.
And that is my only excuse. You know, it's either that or heroin. So
That's it.
what do you want
I
me to
either
do?
do this or
The funny
Go to
little
heroin.
floaties joke, or give my life
yeah,
to
the
heroin?
funny little floaties joke. It's good. It was good. Ridiculous.
how
I
do you-
genuinely felt
okay.
bad, dude. You were like, it would make me feel a lot better, and I was like, oh, okay.
I
I'm
was
sorry.
concerned, to be fair, because I knew you
I mean, it
were
made
going
sense when you,
to
when you
a
spelled it out. I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's
pool.
fair.
There's no lifeguard because it's just one
There's
in you.
no
You know, it's
lifeguard.
just you alone in a pool, and all I saw, the flashing images of like PB just, you know. I was like, oh, there's no way that's not how she goes out. Like so bored, drowned herself.
Yep.
Oh
Um,
my god.
Yeah, I don't know, man. All right,
Oh.
whack.
Anyway, whack.
This better be good.
Yep, better be good. Evil campaign. I think you need to look at a lot of the way that it's done in pop media and culture in general, because it is in my opinion, it's a pretty tough thing to do to keep people's interests, including the players, and not get monotonous. Because it's really easy to fall into the henchman/goon scenario with an evil campaign, right? Hey,
It's also
know,
just
we're-
not fun. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
after a while, as a player, you'd be like, God,
It's
I'm
a
a piece
job.
of shit. Yeah.
it becomes like a job almost.
Unless
you
your
have
character
to-
is supposed to become good, but even that's kind of tropey.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
If you look at shows like Severance, okay,
Mhm.
or Billions, because I immediately associate billionaires with evil. If you
Why?
look at those shows,
Geez, I wonder why.
they're all sociopaths, right? They ultimately, the way that they do evil is the
Mhm.
people that are the subject of those shows, the characters on those shows, do not know that they are evil,
Or don't
They think-
consider themselves that. Yeah.
or they just don't think about it. It's just never it's never on their mind. It's all based on someone's perspective. So much of our reality is based on our perspective and what we are perceiving through our senses. If you grow up in an environment where you are, rich and you have everything handed to you and you have all of these wonderful things on a daily basis, you expect that to be the norm. That is normal. It is normal to have a gold toilet and, to fucking get into an indoor pool that's heated and, everybody cleans up after you and makes your food and, all that stuff is just done for you all the time. That's normal. And anything below that standard is wrong. Why don't I have those things anymore? Why don't I have that? That's the perception that they are given because of the way that they're raised and because of their environment, right? So if you make an evil campaign, you have to think about the characters that are going to be in that campaign and what is their reality that forces them to be evil. Are they really poor and they've had to steal for everything that they have? Did they have to, have they had to hey, I can't feed myself and my family, I need to go steal? Are they evil? Or is the person that has been given everything from the moment that they've been born evil, but they never steal? They do it in other ways. They steal in a non-obvious way, and they're able to justify all the things that they have because, hey, we're not stealing. Well, this person just doesn't have the same opportunities as you. It's a different perspective. So there's all this gray area that happens with an evil campaign, and it's exceptionally hard to do, in my opinion. If I were to do it, I would have to think up a situation where these people need to work together in some way. Why are they together if they're evil? That's always the hardest thing to figure out, right? How do you make all these people, quote, at least resemble a working relationship together? Because otherwise they're just going to go do their own thing, right? Chaotic evil is way different than lawful evil and neutral evil. They're all very different. And if all the characters are chaotic evil, I don't know how you'd link them up. I have no idea how you'd do that. I don't know if it's even possible. You have to give them some kind of collective motivation.
You got to give them Suicide Squad bombs in their heads type shit.
Yeah. That's the only way.
Yeah.
If you think about it in pop culture, I think that's usually your best starting point in thinking how do they do it in this show or how do they do it in this comic
It's
book?
rare that there is really truly a group of villains who are on an equal playing field that are actually that are not just popping in when the heroes encounter them. They're always on their the Penguin. That show was so good. He's just a guy on his own, really. He's got all these other characters around him, but they're all people that work for him or are expendable to him and stuff. How do you do that with other players? And the answer is you make one of the players non-expendable and the others are. And that one player can kill the other player characters whenever they want. And they're the Penguin. And then the other player characters are his little friend that he has.
Somebody to blame.
Just
to point your fingers at. They're the reason that that I'm in this predicament. They're the reason that I can't be myself.
Yeah, because that would be fun too. I think it's really hard. What I think is hard about it is really good villains. I think we all like the same kinds of villains. Are justified to themselves. What you were saying, but it's so hard to have a campaign that's about multiple characters that are doing that, which means you have really only got the choice of playing it comically.
Or alternatively, you twist your idea of you've got one character that's not expendable and the story is about that character. And then you have, I don't know, 8 8 episodes of them navigating through the space, and the rest of the characters around them are expendable. And then what? The next arc is you just bring in 3 more people around that player and just watch that one player kind of dominate the space that they're in.
I'd love to do that.
That's very cool. And we, I forget this because, I was in it. And so my character obviously didn't consider themselves to be evil, but I always forget about Leech. We were we were bad people in that show.
But we were separate.
We were playing vampires.
They were very much, this is what I mean. Like, they were separate characters. Were they ever all in the same room at the same time?
I think a few times, but
they were
one of the campaigns where we
using
were
each other.
Yeah.
When we were
all
playing the
using each
major
other for their
villains,
motivations.
it was pretty rare.
Yeah.
Like as Lionel, I think I had individual scenes with people, but rarely was I ever with everyone
Lionel,
else.
even found love. Like the stuff we did in that show was really weird, but the characters we were.
Love.
I think it was love to him.
Yeah, his weird version of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love that as well, and I enjoy that exploration so much. It's my favorite. I love a villain. Whack let me play one yesterday, and one of my favorite things about I guess I won't try not to spoil too much about it, but
I actually brought it up because I was like, oh, Whack, can we talk about this? But I just realized it only happened yesterday, so I don't know if you don't want us to talk about it.
A character basically outright asks my character, why are you evil? And he's like, what? What does that even mean? I'm not evil. Yeah. He doesn't even say I'm not evil. He's just like, I can't even compute what you're saying because it's so irrelevant to me. He was just like, I don't know. Why are you framing it like that? That's what they think like. They're just like, this has no benefit to what we're talking about. This has no bearing on what we're doing. This has there's no reason for you to, like, is that how you're going through life? No wonder you're being, that's kind of where I was like, no wonder you're being taken for a ride. You're like using all these weird metrics. Like this is the metrics you're running your life by. Look at how much shit I've figured out.
Yeah, and also you just believed them when they told you a thing, which obviously strikes a chord with me because I'm like, yep, that would be me. I would be that character. I would have believed everything that they fucking said.
Yeah.
Yep.
Admittedly, a lot of that was Wack's direction. Like, he didn't script me or anything, but he was like,
that's why I wanted to talk about it, because I know he went into this thinking about villains.
That's the thing. He also knows I love that kind of villain. It's my favorite. I love a justified villain. I want to play a chaotic one, but it's just a fucking dickhead for no reason, but I can't help myself.
I think ultimately it comes back to the perspective thing, and people don't see themselves. I think a lot of people see themselves, I'm good. I'm a good person, right?
Yeah.
And I remember in Severance when...
By the way, guys, we are sponsored by Severance. Check out Severance, now available on Apple TV.
I remember...
Could you imagine?
I remember, like, there's justification for... a character dies, and I'm not going to do spoilers.
Oh, which one? Which one is it?
But a character dies.
When do they die?
And one of the characters at the funeral is basically describing, like, all of these great things that this person has done, and they're like, this person is a brute, like a horror, like you don't want to talk to this person, but they did great things. And great here just means big. It doesn't mean good. It means big.
That's such an important distinction. Great here means big.
It was just big. This is just a historic thing that happens because it affects so many people. And that is better than nothing. Right? So their justification for good is different than 99% of everybody else. They're doing something with their lives. They're changing the world. It's not necessarily a good change, but we're not stagnant. We're doing something. So their mentalities are different. An evil person might not recognize themselves as evil because they have latched onto this one thing that is change. Change is happening.
Yeah.
And because we're not just doing nothing and being stagnant and not contributing in any way, that means I'm good. So
Yeah.
when I look at characters like big villains in a lot of D&D stories, the ones that I think are always really good or interesting are those justified characters. They're doing this thing because they have a goal. That something has happened to them to make them do this thing or act this way, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to reference some stuff here without spoiling, but like, you know, Strahd has a reason that Strahd is this way in Curse of Strahd, right? And it's one of my very favorite modules because there's a section in the book that explains his motivations and why he's doing the things that he's doing.
Have you run Strahd?
I have.
He's run it like 16 times.
I was just gonna
I've run
say,
it
like,
twice.
yeah.
I've run it. So I ran it twice because the first one,
one and a
it was
half.
TPK.
Oh wow.
So I had.
Was it in the house?
Was it
the death
in the
house in the first 5? Yeah, the death house in the first 5 minutes of the
No.
fucking module.
No.
Holy
it was
shit!
It was because of a player that went decided they were the main character and that they were gonna just do something insane and damn the consequences.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So yeah, the what I do now is whenever I have a big bad evil guy, I take that approach.
Yep.
Before I do anything else, it's why are they doing this? What is their purpose?
I think we all do that, actually.
When
We could
Brad
probably-
and I mean, when originally when I came up with the idea for main character, I spoke to PB, I spoke to Murgles, I spoke to Aaron. Those are the 3 people I talked about it with initially. And I was like, hey, do you think this will work? And then once we got over that hump and I was like, okay, it works, I had to think about why they were doing what they were doing. And, you know, I approached Brad. I was like, hey, do you know, he was originally going to be in the show. And then time just got crazy and we couldn't make it happen. So I was like, do you want to be a villain? And he's like, well, yeah, that sounds cool. And then I was like, it's not, you know, you don't have to be in there all the time. We're going to have you be on here and there. So he and I had a few conversations and I was like, listen, this is what's going on. And we just kind of talked about like why he's doing all this stuff. So I think you were able to play that character because we had that conversation where it was just like, this is why he's doing this. That's why I didn't give you like, you know, crazy direction or anything. I just said, these are the reasons.
Yeah.
And we talked about it and we're like, oh, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense. Why is that happening? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And we went back and forth with that.
Well, we sort of developed him at 3 stages, like right at the beginning, because we needed to figure out the guy. And then we had the meeting recently-ish where we went over everything. The thing that's hard is like figuring out, for me, it was, well, I think we developed him together and we understood his motivations because of that. And then, but I needed the direction of lore, in-world lore direction, you know, because there's just so much that is just in your head only and no one else has access to that. So it's like, who's this? Why does that do that? What does this have an effect on that the players don't know about yet and isn't public knowledge or whatever? And like all of that kind of stuff is quite hard to remember and bring in. But the character motivations for that character are so interesting because of a lot of that in-world lore stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's that thing of like, it's one of my favorite kinds of story to tell. It was my Dying Order storyline of like power corrupting absolutely, and just like you become more and more corrupt the more power you have access to, or maybe it unlocks something. It's like the thing with me, like I was talking about it today, but I talk about it a lot, how I would become, if you gave me Superman's powers, I would become evil. I wouldn't even know it was happening. I'd be like,
That's
that guy's
the other
annoying.
option,
We should
right?
we should wait. This president's doing what? Hold on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, before you know it, I'd be like, well, all right, we're gonna move all these people to the fucking moon, okay? And we're gonna, it's just like, even though I would still in my head be like, this is the right thing to do. The moon people are the evil people. I moved them there because they were ruining everything, and and then there's people with picket things being like, you shouldn't. There's still people with rights, and I've become,
everything you hate.
I've become the very thing I swore to destroy.
Yeah,
my favorite type of villain. Again,
I legitimately have thought about the evil campaign many times, and I always come back to the point where I'm like, I don't know if I enjoy that, so why would I run it? That's usually what happens to me.
Yes. I'm with you. Because for me, it's like, I think the parts about the running or watching, like if I were going to watch something that was, I guess classified in that way, like everyone's evil, I want to see the nuance in there, or I want to see the, I guess either the struggle or the lack thereof, or I just need more than it to be this campaign is evil and these are evil people. There has to be something else in it for me to want to watch it. So I suppose there would have to be something else for me to want to run it as well.
How about this though?
Nobody knows they're evil because they don't consider themselves to be evil until the audience is like, yo, these guys are blowing up towns and shit. This is ridiculous.
I think it only makes sense really, unless you're doing He-Man, that the character doesn't think they're evil, unless you're doing comical, funny, like you're it almost like Don't Die levels of like, this is caricaturish, almost. But like, how about this? How do you do? We're going slightly off topic. Someone has just dropped a big
thank you
tip.
Thank you.
On us. Thank you very much, anonymous person, and everyone else. But how do you do? What if you do want to do a truly chaotic character? I'll give you some examples, because you can do it. Joker.
The only one who's ever been able to do that is you in Leech with Kai.
But even he was justified. I mean, he was almost a Rufus variant. There's so many of them.
If you guys haven't seen Leech and you haven't seen Brad's performance as that character, there was a moment.
Dude, we all
where
try-harded so much on Leech. Don't.
We did, but it doesn't matter because your performance as that character took me. Like there was a moment where I can't even remember what scene it was. I think it was with your grandma. I think it was the end. I think it was the end of Kai. And I just had a moment where I was like, my jaw was dropped. I was so like enamored by your performance that I was like, nothing is ever going to touch and come anywhere near whatever chaos gremlin this character is ever again. This is probably the only chaotic character I've seen done well.
I think Kai means fire. Let me see if I can pull up his old sheet.
It was like, not that other people can't play chaotic characters, but like when I think of like a character that is truly chaotic where you can't really, then that's the character that I think of. Because holy shit. It was so good.
Yeah, the thing with, I mean, if I'm honest with you, a lot of the best characters that I think I play, I'm not saying that they're great. You are.
Yeah.
But the ones that you always tell me are great or people resonate with or really like are ones that are honestly just fucking horrible versions of myself. Which is why I'm like, oh, this is...
No, man, there
evil
was
and bad
something
person.
else in your performance with Kai. Like your fucking I think your fucking eyes. There was a moment where you were like your eyes went out of focus while you were speaking, and I was like, "This is nuts. This should be on the television."
But like that character is just a kid who it doesn't know who he is or where to go or what to do, and. He's essentially introduced to a drug, and they give him because he's a what are they called? The thin blood.
Yeah. Yep.
And
one
they're
step
like,
away
this,
from a ghoul.
you feel good with this.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Yep. And we went
then-
into the Leech going, we want that to be very, drug-like. The blood is very
And
euphoric.
I was just sat there like, well, I know how to play this character. A character that is.
I remember
just,
that session 0 where Josh was like, are we okay with, going on the line of like, this is like drug-like. Are you
Everyone
okay
looked
with
at
that?
me.
And you were, yep, everyone looked at Brad and Brad was like, oh, I fucking got this in the bag. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. But like the thing with him is that I wanted him to be, I wanted him to start out as a 19-year-old homeless kid who believes in power through anarchy and chaos, but actually kind of believes in himself, but is also just enslaved to all this other stuff. He's the weakest possible character he could be, partially because I'd been playing the most powerful up until that point with Lyle, and then I wanted to play a thin blood little weak guy. But I imagined a path for him where he becomes the most powerful vampire in Manchester or in England or wherever, just straight up through chaos, because that was a lot of the point of that season. We were anarchists, right? A couple of the characters that we played that were linked.
Connie,
and
Mark.
like I love the idea that you.
How dare you for advertising Connie into my brain again?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know.
She's a fun character to play.
But like chaos is a ladder type deal. But I know for a fact that chaos is extremely powerful because of its unpredictability. I'm very chaotic in real life. I remember playing stuff like board games or like Risk and stuff, and I don't. And I do this. I do it with like poker and stuff, where I will just be like, no one's expecting me to do this. No, it would be crazy if I did this. This won't, and I don't know it's going to do anything, and then I win, and I don't know how. And at the end of it, people are like, you're naturally gifted at this. And I'm like, no, I think no one's expecting chaos. And you can't deal with it. No one can handle it. It destroys everything. And chaos is a level playing field. It's the only way you can bring people in positions of power. That could be someone who knows more about the board game than you, or it could be a fucking businessman. It could be the most powerful Manchester vampire. Chaos brings everyone down to the same level, and now we're all playing on the same field at the same level with the same skill set because chaos has reduced us down to that point, and I love it.
And this all boils down to the fact that Brad
was abused as a child.
Brad.
Oh my God! Ow.
Brad specifically hates anybody that is skilled at anything.
I hate anyone in any position of power over me.
This is
allergic.
This is his way to balance the scale.
But it's also why I'm
That
obsessed
person is
with it.
really good at guitar. What if we throw them in a fucking karaoke environment?
Yeah.
But the karaoke room is now playing a music they've never heard before.
Yeah, and is on fire. Like it is very much a thing that I'm obsessed with. I've always been like it. It is just, I just want to destroy anything more powerful than I am. And it isn't even there is no like, it is just a quiet, it's just an id
It's not
thing.
quiet.
Well, it's just in me forever.
Yeah.
I know what it is. I want to kill my dad. I'm 8 years old. But I do find it fascinating, and I'm very interested in the philosophy of it.
Thank you so much for the tips, everybody.
Thank you for funding
Thank
this.
you. We will move on from evil campaign here any minute.
Well, we've gone
now.
into villains, which I think we could do.
Okay.
It. We can just talk about
Okay.
this forever because we're
We
all
love
obsessed
villains.
with it. We've all done it. But the thing that I want to talk about, not chaos. Like how. Here's one. When I did a campaign called Fractured Worlds. It was one of the first campaigns I ran.
Don't fucking speak to me about that campaign.
It was great. We did a second.
so good.
We did a second season of it, which was less good. There were a few things wrong with it. But it was good. But like,
It's okay to slouch. It's okay to slouch.
yeah, I mean, Jesus.
Okay.
One of the
It
things
hurts so bad.
that I did in that second season is I wanted to introduce just a being of destruction. So it's basically a god. It's like Sin from Final Fantasy X.
Yeah.
It's just destroying randomly, and it's just moving around. And so the hero's job now is to just stop this enormous, unbelievably powerful godlike thing, which was based on the Titans from Greek lore. That is like an elemental Titan thing, and it's just destroying stuff. And it isn't. It has no. It's not trying to do it for a reason. So you can't reason with it. You just have to figure out how to stop it. That is a villain. It was a villain, but like, and it's just pure chaos and destruction. Boring.
I have
It's boring.
I have a question.
It's not boring in general, but it is boring in that you will never interact with it or interface with it as a group of players. Oh my God.
Fuck it. I just reclined.
Oh,
Fuck
okay.
it.
Okay.
I'm over it.
I thought that was your spinal column completely compressing.
She just lost a section of her spine just there.
Just lost 5 discs.
No, I just.
They all
no,
just went-
I just
Yeah.
putting my feet up and I'm.
Can you imagine?
reclining
Oh, by the
and
way,
I'm
the
so
guilt
sorry.
I would feel from just not putting my foot down and being like, you can't do this. But like, that's a villain that I think is just pure chaotic, and I've always wanted to try and do correctly. You know,
I was going to
Evil
ask you that.
recliner.
That was my next question. Is there a type of villain that you would like to play at some point that you haven't maybe already played, or maybe
Kefka.
somebody in Leech was one of the villains you
a
wanted to
Kefka
play?
type, a real Kefka
Mm.
type, like that is as strong and in such a position of power as Kefka from Final Fantasy VI is, and is just doing it partially because he wants power, but is really, honestly, he just is evil and annoying, and he's just annoying. He's just like, I'm gonna poison this fucking well because I wanna. It's like a child almost, you know. I'm already justifying him. I almost don't want to. I also just love that,
I have
like,
a character that's similar to that just wants to see what will happen out of a weird, broken, childlike curiosity, and that is the only way I can play that character without being like, this person's fucking insane.
I love that kind of stuff, and I also do love, like, I'm not much of a Batman fan really, but I do like I love the idea of taking the characters that we have existing and creating an antithesis to it, which I did in Rota to the best of my ability. You were a group that all had each other, and I made him lonely, and you had this and he had this, and mirrored villains I think are very fun, like Batman's Joker is the best example. I love that kind of thing, and I think if you have like a group of paladins, you know, if you had 4 players come to you and be like, we're really going to try and stick to our oaths and we want to be like 4 paladins. Is that annoying? And you're like, no, just do it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
I would love to just put in front of them Kefka. 4 paladins versus a Kefka type. It's just that mirror, I think, is very fun when you're making a campaign and you want a villain. I think having something, it's almost like a foil, isn't it? It's like a foil for the main player characters. But yeah, I do kind of want to do like a Kefka type. Do you? Do you have villains that you want to do?
Well, just one, but I don't know if I'll ever be able to do it. But it's like a one-day goal of mine. I do want to try to see if I can play the charismatic cult leader.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's just pure trauma, pure like, let's go. But yeah, I think I would want only the GM and I to know.
Yeah.
So that I could do it properly. Yeah, which fucking sucks. But
Wax. I know Wax as well. Wax.
Do you?
Yep.
Yeah.
A dog killer. Just a dog slaughterer. Just going around killing dogs. That's what it is. Like, we've heard about this dog slaughterer been going around catching puppies.
I think Whack played the character a little bit already.
Dog slaughterer.
No, the one that his villain, right? Whack, am I right? I won't say who it is. Can I DM it to you? Or do you want me to say it out loud? Okay, hold on.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, these people didn't pay all this money to hear it. I mean, they don't want to know.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. I want to make sure first before I say anything.
No, it ain't worth any money ruining someone's experience of something. Sorry,
Yeah.
guys. Sorry, dinos.
I don't.
I agree with you. So wasn't that your original thought with him, though? He changed because all characters do change. But I think in Inception...
I don't remember, Honestly,
I just remember you saying
if I
manipulative
changed.
AF.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, manipulative people are not my favorite. I
Really? Why?
I've done the manipulative character thing a few times. I've done the manipulative character thing a few times where they're not necessarily evil or what have you, or they're gray, morally gray. I don't know if I have a villain that I really want to play. I really don't. I feel like whenever I'm making a campaign, I cater the villain to the campaign, or I build the campaign around the villain. But I don't necessarily have one that I'm dying to play. I think my answer is that I just don't really have one that I'm dying to play. I genuinely struggle to play evil characters when you're given that choice in video games. When it's like, I'm going to role play the evil character. It's a struggle for me, legitimately.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Like if I go full renegade or something in Mass Effect, I'll make a mistake. I'll be like, oh shit, no, I was supposed to do that the evil way, because I have to force myself to make that decision. And I usually end up struggling. I'm like, this just seems so stupid. Like, why would I do this?
It's interesting because I can't do a full renegade run where every single decision you make is renegade in Mass Effect. But what I did appreciate about the renegade run that I did was that it ended up being my favorite because it rode the line of pragmatism versus evil. And that to me is where the villain line is. You know, if they're extremely, that pragmatism to the pushing it to the line and then over it, I can usually get on board with that. Who was the villain I was just watching where I went, oh, nope, I'm totally on their side the whole time? I cannot tell you because this is a spoiler in Final Fantasy 14. But guys, let me tell you, there's this character that comes in, okay? And I'm like, I agree with
I'm going to be
every
hyper aware of every pragmatic character that shows up now.
Every fucking word out of your mouth. I'm into it, dude. I'm on your side. 100%.
It's real tough. Those pragmatic villains are real tough. And also when you play...
Wasn't I talking to you about a villain though? Just recently,
I feel
there was
like
a villain where we were talking about something and I was like, I'm totally on their side. I can't remember what it was.
Dude,
that we were
I
talking
get
about
it
now.
when I'm playing a pragmatic character. Like when I was playing Blake.
Yeah.
And for a bit there, everyone was like...
Everything they did made sense to us.
And
but
everyone around
is
like, this is evil. You're an evil person. And you're like I think I'm pragmatic, but you're conflating that with evil right now. But it could so easily become evil.
Yes. Yeah.
If you keep following it to a certain point. There is like there is a bit of a tipping point and a line that I think is that's super fun to play with pragmatic villains. Yeah. I struggle with that word. Said that.
Those are I think my favorites.
I think that's the only way to legitimize a villain is to walk that line and cross the line a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
That is a much more believable villain than somebody that's just I'm just gonna kill a whole bunch of people today. Like that just randomly just decides like, I'm going to walk into a village. I'm just going to murder the first 4 people I see. Yeah. Why?
Well, I mean,
because I thought of it.
Yeah. If it's just because I thought of it, but then if it's like, I'm insane. Why are you insane? What made you go like this? And what is the motivation behind it? And is the reason you killed 4 a clue? Like that.
Yeah.
That I think is what is important. But we're kind of going on to with like,
what
is a good villain?
So many things to talk about.
We've sort of answered before as well. But I mean, I just think it is one of the best, most interesting and important things anyway, is villains.
Yeah.
And doing a villainous campaign.
God, this is going to drive me crazy. What was it? Where I was like, I totally agree with everything that they're saying. And
I think it was with me and I can't remember what it was either.
I can't remember what it was.
Well, let's answer another question and maybe it will come back to you at some point. Also, I don't have a villain for side quest. How crazy is that? We're perfect. Still on it, but like...
Yeah. Orcish is your villain.
I mean, they are the villains. But a big, bad, evil guy, villain.
Yeah.
Normally, it's written into the DNA of a campaign for me. It's almost always the catalyst of the adventure and storyline. And it is really, really weird to just wade into something and be like, it's almost like a carrot sometimes that you can use. You're just like, something
Mhm.
exploded over there, or he's fucking teleported in front of you. I've been doing it for years. Fractured Worlds, I had the villain just teleport in and kill their favorite NPC and then leave. And, you know, it's just like, just to wind them up. And they were
Yeah.
like, what the fuck? We're going to get this fucking guy and we're going to absolutely annihilate him. And I was like, yes, they're motivated. Got him. Absolutely got him hooked. Like, it's the best thing ever. And don't have one written at all. Weird feeling. Okay, next question.
Well, it's renowned for now. They want to get known. Its reputation is their villain at the moment.
Yeah, it's Orcish,
enough.
not Ricard. It's Orcish. Orcish is the
It's
villain.
Orcish.
Yeah, that's why I said orcish.
Yeah. I'm losing my voice because I've been awake for too long. What are we doing? Player expectations. What
jokes
was this
can't do.
question? I made okay. So Clay Kite said, topic suggestion: expectations for players, e.g., between sessions or managing players in general. I think this one it's such a weird one. I spoke about it a little bit today already, and it's, for me, this is like such a weird question to answer anyway, because you get into the weird weeds of being a business owner and a DM and a friend of people, where you're like trying to manage people, their schedules and stuff. And the reason
We'll take the table story portion out of it. Just take table story out of it, because I imagine the question is more from
because
the,
I wanted one of the reasons that I found this interesting is I was thinking about, because we spoke about this last night on the green room for main character, is the weird situations that come up when you have the most pivotal episode and it's next week.
Yep. And then
Someone's sick, or they have to fly somewhere, or, you know, someone has a family emergency. Some shit happens where one of them can't make it. It's legitimately not their fault, and you're not like pissed off with them or anything like that.
Yeah.
But now you have to,
And you can't spoil them.
they can't leave.
Yeah.
They can't. They have to be present for the episode. So now you have to write something new, or do a flashback or a flash sideways, or you have to do something else or whatever. And this isn't really player expectations, I guess. I think this is more managing players and stuff. But it's one of those things that I think is really interesting, because we were talking about it yesterday as well, in that I was a player in this campaign for WAG, and he was like, well, you'll be in the next couple weeks. And that was ages ago.
Yeah.
And then it kept rolling on. And I mentioned it on my
did
stream.
the same thing to Meyer, because I had told him that I wanted him to come in for Deathless, and it's like, I don't know when it's going to be. And he was very wonderful with it, because I think it ended up being like, oh, no, it's not going to be next week. And then I had to be like, oh, shit, actually, I'm a fucking liar. Things have changed. Could it possibly be next week? Is that okay if it was next week?
Yeah. And it's really, really hard to do. And I think it isn't just a table story thing or a show thing. It is just a GM thing. One, for some reason, you become schedule manager as soon as you're a GM. Why? I don't know. It is insane.
Number one most annoying / difficult part.
It should be anyone else. I'm busy.
Yeah, I remember for Oracle's Rest, you were like, you're in charge of the schedules.
Like, this is insane. It didn't even work. I just still had to do it most of the time.
I think Mergs did an okay job.
Mergs would be the one that would be like adding everyone every week. Then that was so useful. But like the insane stress that comes from being not just the person who has to plan the whole campaign and write the sessions and everything, but also manage everyone else's schedules, figure out when people are free, when can you do this, when is this okay, what time should we do that thing, oh, you're sick, you're not this. It is one of the most difficult things ever. And I honestly think sometimes it's more difficult than the running of the show. Like once you're going and your session is running and you're just like, your brain is burning and on fire, and you're like, okay, this, music, sound effect, this person, the villain shows up, next scene, this thing. You want to speak to who? Glizzy the gnome? Yeah, Glizzy the gnome says this. I actually think scheduling is harder than that.
Yeah, I think scheduling is like one of the worst things, because it's it's scheduling. So obviously there's going to be, you're dealing with 5 or 6 or however many people. So obviously things are going to come up, but it's the most frustrating thing for me as well. Because as a GM, you're keeping track of the pacing of the story. And then you got one person that's like, oh, I'm going to a concert next week. have fun. I want you to go and do that. That's great. But fuck, now I got to figure out how to, what
so
to
many
focus on or
moving-
navigate. Yeah, it's just, it's a lot.
pieces.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Just there's a million different variables, and somehow our brains are able to cope with all this stuff, and it's usually based on our experience that you have as a GM. How do you juggle all these plates? And ultimately, it comes down to you just have to. So your brain compensates, and you find a way through. Sometimes it's not the best answer. Sometimes it's, one of the worst choices that you make, but you make it and you stick to it and you just do it. And then you get through it.
And then you get players who take that block of time super seriously to the point where they're moving other things around that block, where they're just like, no, I can't. I'm busy. They don't even tell you why. They're like, I'm fucking busy. Everything else gets planned and they never miss a session. So, it's just like.
And that person should become the designated scheduler. I think, I made a joke
Trench
earlier
mouth?
on. I made a joke earlier on about how, my brain splits a little bit because half of my brain becomes, I'm actually just so grateful that you're even showing up.
Yeah.
I know that you're enjoying it, and I know that we're all putting our all into it, but especially with Tablestory shows, you have to show up and you have to be on camera. You have to be potentially in makeup.
It's not the same as just sitting, if it were a home game, I could just lounge back and be like, oh yeah,
hoodie.
Will somebody roll for me? But I can't.
And
I can't do that in a show.
It's so I'm always so grateful that people want to do it, and that I really try my best, but my God, I can't believe you're actually wanting to do this. And also you come back for another one the next year if I invite that kind of thing.
And there's this balance between ultimately it is just a game that we're playing together. Obviously Tablestory, it's a show that people are watching and counting on and invested in, and so there's that element to it too. But ultimately you want people to go out and live their lives as well. It's just one of those things where you're, it's a lot to juggle, I think.
But then my brain also pivots immediately to, for fuck's sake. I go from the most grateful, I love these people so much, to I'm flipping the desk, just fucking fuck that. I cannot believe how badly this has gone wrong. I cannot believe you fucking. What do you mean? It's an hour before the show. You're not going to be in it. It's the most. It's just whatever. Just stuff going wrong. It is a crazy place to be in, I think, and you do end up kind of because you're stressed, because you're a middle manager. You're the classic middle manager stressed character who is just trying to do everything and trying to do it all perfectly. Does this time
work out? And you have to arrange with everyone, and then one person comes after saying yes, comes back and is like, actually, that doesn't work for me. And you're well,
you don't understand how much. From your
you're
perspective,
out of the fucking show.
From your perspective,
I'm sorry, I spent so much energy trying to pick a block of time that works for everyone.
It's unbelievable how much people don't realize how hard it is to spin all those plates and balance all this stuff, because you can tell, because they're not, you'll be talking to someone and arranging and scheduling something, especially pre-show stuff, when you're trying to really get all characters made and shit and get everyone together and all that. You have just delicately balanced this little house of cards of schedule times and stuff, and the other person isn't a piece of shit. They're not an arse. They're not trying to do something. But they will be like, I can probably do 4:15 instead if you want. And you're like, dude, it has taken me 2 weeks. I swear to God, 2 weeks to fucking build this house of cards, and you are so blasé and flippant. I can tell, and again, you don't know this, but I can tell you don't know how fucking hard this was to build and to set up and to get everyone in the fucking room at the same time. Oh my God. Are you dying that day? Because if you're not, you've agreed.
Yeah.
It's not 4:15, it's 12.
I've started doing the time and day ahead of time. And then I reach out to the players now and I'm like, I am running a show on this day at this time.
That's what I've been
doing.
And
inevitably, they're like, yes. And then at some point we get in, hey, can we push the show an hour or visit? But it doesn't matter because at least it's in the same window, And then
the
trying
hour
to figure
push
out
is nothing.
Yeah, that's nothing.
And we're all talking about Greg, right?
One of the best players I've ever had.
What a nightmare. Do you know the worst thing about Greg is I want him in everything I run, and he's like, I'm available for about 45 minutes once on a weekend someday, and I'm like, fuck, God. Yeah. By the way, little spoiler, Greg will be in side quest at some point. I messaged him and was like, next time you're just free on a Tuesday, let me know. And like, by the way, his character, I'm like, I'm not writing him in or anything.
He already exists.
He's just going to be like a fairy that follows them for that episode, and leaves. Because I won't be able to write him in because I don't know when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I just want him to show up and be annoying maybe and leave.
This is probably going to stress you out, Greg, to know, but you need to know that Brad and I had an actual conversation where I was like, well, you know, when Deathless wraps, you can take over Sundays so you can invite Greg into a game. We had, like we actually had this discussion about sharing you as a player.
It's almost guaranteed that at the end of Deathless and Side Quest, whenever they both, or like whenever your Sunday slot and my Tuesday slot close at a similar enough time, that we're swapping days just so we can swap Greg, which is like we're sitting here being like, it's so annoying when players do this weird scheduling thing, and we are like, we're like doing this brainiac shit like a year ahead. But yeah, it's what we got. And I guess, to be fair, it does come back to around to Greg is the worst one.
This what's hilarious is that what was the actual question? What was the actual question?
Okay, so I mean, this is correct. It was managing managing players in general.
The way
but
I take this to mean with player expectation, do they mean like,
I think it's a separate question.
Players who come up to you, you know, like they have an idea of where they want their character arc to go, and they have an idea of what they want out of the experience.
Well, player expectations for me is almost like your dad or mum, and okay. I am okay. In the family of your D&D group,
I was like, where's this going?
You're the parent.
Okay, yeah.
And you lay down expectations, like, you know, respect the story. Don't you know? Be ready and on time. You know, please. You know, you know, like weird shit, like just fucking respect people's player agency. You know, that kind of shit. Be fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't fucking rules lawyer or do. Yeah. You know, I feel like that for me, that's what player expectations is. And I think that's slightly different to managing players. But I think that player expectations of like, if I'm like, don't rules lawyer, and then someone starts rules lawyering, how do I then manage that player? I think is the actual question from Clay Kite here.
So for me, I took that to mean like, you know, a player who comes in and they have kind of an idea for their arc. And I have had that happen before in a wonderful way, because I like that. I like to know kind of, you know, what your expectations are for either the game or for the time, or even just kind of like scenes you want, you know. So I've had players come up to me and be like, man, I really think that like, you know, this would be super neat. And I just say to them, it might not be that exact scenario that you are imagining, but I promise I will give you this beat, this moment that you want. Just trust that I will do it. And then I do that. I find a way to provide that to them, but it's usually in a way that they haven't pre-thought out in their head, so that they're actually taken by surprise, like their character would be, by the beat, and then they have to think on their feet a little bit. You know, and I like that. If you're excited about your character, and I let my players know that too. If you're super, like, not to bring Greg up again, but Greg has called me and we've sat on a call for an hour thinking about backstory that we'll probably never touch on. But I like that. You know, I think that kind of like character development, and, you know, if you're excited about your character and you have ideas of what you want your character to experience, you know, obviously there's a line, you know, where a player might come to you and be like, yeah, and then I want this crazy sword, and I, you know, like all this cool stuff and blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, well, you know, kind of bring it back down a little bit. But so far I haven't really had that happen. I've usually only had people come to me with like emotional beats that they want their character to hit, or, you know, kind of just something that makes them think about going in this direction with their character. And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that's mostly what it is. It's people going like, yeah, I don't know. and I'm only using this as an example because it's right here on the top of my mind. Like, I don't know. I kind of want them to go in this direction where it's like borderline bad, you know, or they're like, they have this turning point. So they come to me with that and I go, I can do that for you. I can figure out, and then I go away and I think about what to put in front of, what decision to put in front of them to make them go, fuck, well, what do I do now? I either stick with the way my character has been so far or I make change. That's what I thought it meant by
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it might be. I mean, we probably need to start banging through these questions, but
yeah, sorry.
Do you have because I don't actually, I mean, predominantly I play with the same people. If I had a brand new group of people, I'd probably like have to awkwardly lay out like these are the actual player expectations, which I really hate doing because it feels so condescending. For me, it's just so uncomfortable for me as a person to be like, this is what I expect of you. I'm like, oh my god, I've become the very thing I swore to destroy, like for real.
Some people like that, though.
But some people like it, and some people fucking need it. And it does. A lot of the time, people like, and I'm one of these people a lot of the time as well. If someone doesn't say expressly like, I would like you to make sure that you, I don't know, you you understand your spells. Understand them. That's all I want you to know. Is just know what your character can do, understand your abilities and your spells, mechanics on your page. Everything else, leave to me or the rest of it, whatever. If I didn't know that, I might go into a game if I wasn't an experienced player and be like, everyone will help me. Which isn't, if someone's
so I say that when I have a new player, I go, don't stress about the mechanic stuff. We'll help you.
Yeah.
So,
but do you have any hard rules like that you do sort of enforce? It's kind of hard because for me it's been a long time since I've really actually set any player expectations down in front of a group.
I've only had to have a conversation with one player, and it was removing agency from other players at the table. That's the only time I will be like, nope, you can't power game other people. Absolutely, obviously it was Greg. It wasn't. I can't even can't even continue that.
I mean,
joke.
that is it's so awkward to have to do.
But here's the thing is that sometimes that one for me is just like a big narrative thing that people, it's so easy to cross that line because you're excited and it is a collaborative space and nobody's really doing it maliciously. They're just like, oh, this would be cool and this would be cool. And it's like, ooh, we really needed to leave that up to that player. Like that's the thing where you got to have their input. But yeah, that's it.
I think it depends on like what kind of thing you're running as well. Your expectations are obviously going to change based on that. I don't typically have like like a speech or something that I have prepared to tell people what to do with what I'm expecting of them. What I have seen and I appreciated as a GM before was one of my very favorite things that I saw that I would really like to, and I have to remind myself to do this because I did not do this with main character, but when I ran Gatewalkers, they had a player's handbook for Gatewalkers for the adventure path for Pathfinder, right? And that was a little primer. It was just kind of a little primer. It wasn't spoilery. It just kind of said, here's the kind of stuff that you can probably expect. And it said, here's some recommended classes. And here's some recommended languages. And, here's what you might want to include. And we're not going to say why. Did they stick to it in the adventure path? I don't know about that. I don't know if those were the best recommendations based on where the adventure path went. But they had it, and I thought it was a very cool thing to be able to hand something to the players and say, yeah, I've given this to you. And it's basically that. It's basically player expectations, right?
I like that. Yeah, you just had me thinking of like, because I'll send invitations to my players that are usually like mood boards or like a trailer that only goes to the player to be like, hey, I want you in this thing. And that's essentially what that is. But something that they could refer to that's got the like, vibe and whatnot. It's pretty cool.
it's a fallback thing too. If players start doing the thing that you didn't want them to do, and you're like, no, I gave you a thing that said this. Did you just like not care or not read it? And then you have like justification to say like, well, you know, I think this might be a problem or something along those lines. But ultimately, it's about communication, and
that's it, right?
You know, just I think that's what it comes down to when it comes to player expectations. It's just about communicating what you want to do. It can be really
just
difficult.
Just so your players know they can talk to you. That's it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's a big one. Like, hit me up if you have any questions, stuff like that. Make yourself accessible. That's the real key there, because there's so
Let me unblock
many.
Greg here.
There's so many variables that are floating around during the creation of a show, and there's so many times where all of us have rewritten a show fucking entirely.
Yes.
Several times before it's actually released.
Or while it's being released.
Yeah. So like I think that you know, as long as you kind of fall back to those positions where it's like let's make sure we keep communication open, and if you do decide that you're going to change something pretty drastically, you should probably give everybody like at least some kind of a heads up in some regard.
That's a big one for me, actually, that I didn't realize until recently, is like, I will peep or I will listen to the player talk about their like backstory, their history, or whatever we'll talk. And then I go away and I weave that into the main narrative. So if they have gone back and changed it without telling me, then I'm like, wait, what? Sorry, you did what? Oh no. Like, I have put your old backstory in this fucking main story here.
Yeah.
So that's probably the only thing that in the future I'd be like, hey,
you mean Mythomatic
stuff.
You're talking about Mythomatic right now, because
I am.
Yeah, I mean, this guy. Let me tell you about this guy, Mythomatic.
Yeah.
Who keeps changing his backstory on the fly, and then I'm like, you gotta send it to me.
Like, you have no idea what I've done.
Doing actual world lore. No, it's not that bad, really. But yeah, those sort of player expectations, I think the other thing, there's two things that I do. One is I'm absolutely convinced that I'm a good enough DM at this point that if it feels like one player is like getting too much attention or something, I can pivot to the other players. Yeah. I'm watching carefully that everyone gets an equal amount of time and stuff like that. Really try and, those kinds of things. Because if you don't, because a lot of the time I think you'll get players that hog spotlight and stuff, and you are like, you gotta stop. You gotta, and only you can quietly move the camera off of them, play the music, and bring them to something else. But you've got to be careful. I think, like, have you ever read the 44 D&D rules?
Yeah, you can overthink it though too. No.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one thing with player expectations is that you got to be careful not to become that 44 rules of D&D guy. I'm sure some people know what I'm talking about right now.
I don't know what you mean.
I'm going to send it to you later on.
Yeah, okay.
It is insane. It's basically, like if you were at the beginning of a campaign and a DM handed you just like a little thing of like player expectations. I think it would be cool if, you knew what your character could do. Don't worry too much if you don't know everything. It would be cool if you could just like be inclusive and respectful,
yeah, of course.
Shit like that, right? And I've done this before where I've handed out little things like that or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I've been given them as a player. And I find they're useful. But then there's this guy who has this list of 44 things where he just becomes a control freak. Like, it's psychotic. And it is so great to read. You always
can identify that, though, before you join the game. You can always tell when the DMs
We're in a position of extreme privilege with amazing players.
I know.
There's a lot of people here who are like just DMing for the worst people.
I know.
They're DMing for random people. There are people that are just like joining LFG games and stuff, or whatever. Or like,
I have heard some horror stories about people at a table with GMs, and I'm like, how did I get away with half the shit I got away with?
We're the most privileged people on the planet.
So bad.
And it's just, I have not experienced
The
anything
shit I
other than the
put my
greatest
players
players.
through without telling them ahead of time, dude, is like.
I genuinely think my
God.
worst game of D&D, like my worst session of D&D that I've ever played, is still better than a lot of just like completely random games that are going on out there. And that is like,
Sure.
it's insane how lucky we are that we have.
Yeah.
The industry has helped us with it, but like, yeah.
Well, it's also
we have great players.
our friends and that trust
But our
us
friends
and
are
know
all like industry
I'm
people
gonna-
who are creatives and
that's what I
famous
mean.
for
Like
being
everybody,
interesting and funny and genius and shit.
everybody understands like that, and I will say this, 90% of our players have gone through therapy. So they know when something comes up in a game. I'm serious though. When something comes up in a game, the reaction is, oh, this has hit something. I'm going to think about this. I may need to talk about this, but I'm not going to like yell at the other player for putting me in that situation. I'm not going to take it out on the GM. I wasn't put in here unfairly, or it wasn't a punishment. You know what I mean? There's just that level of critical thinking that we all have, because maybe it's because we're older, maybe it's because therapy, whatever. But I feel like that also helps a lot, because we touch on subjects where, we'll have people who are willing to, yell at each other or cry with each other or whatever. And I think that's part of the privilege too, dude.
Would you call that archetyped writing?
Please explain this to me.
All right, let's do
Architect
it.
versus garden
A
writing.
question
Yeah.
from Bear of
Archetype.
Flame. Thoughts on, and this, I
We
mean,
had
this,
no food.
I have a definition for you prepared.
Okay.
Thoughts
Yes, I'm
on
ready.
outlines, pre-planned story beats versus garden writing improv, going with the flow, architect versus garden writing. So essentially, the architect versus gardener analogy in writing refers to two different creative approaches. The architect is this writer plans everything in advance, plot, structure, characters, like blueprints for a building. They outline meticulously and know the story's direction before writing. And a gardener is this writer
That's
discovers...
a book.
This writer discovers... a gardener is that this writer discovers the story as they go, planting ideas like seeds and allowing the narrative to grow organically. They may not know the ending when they begin. Both styles can be effective, depending on. To be honest with you, you are if it is just hardline architect or hardline gardener, architect is a book, and you shouldn't be GMing. Probably you should just be writing a book, unless you tell your players beforehand in your little pamphlet that you hand out with your player expectations,
With 44 expectations.
which is that this, by the
top
way,
one is this is my
we're
story and
this-
I'm in control.
we're playing this through because I want to write this as a book afterwards. So here's, like that is the only reason I can imagine doing it.
Okay, Meyer brings up a good point. Tolkien was a go-to example for the gardener writer. Aragorn was a hobbit called Strider for 4 or 5 rewrites.
Well, I think
Okay, I see.
yeah, this is, I think this is more of a traditional novel writing technique. That when you think of this, when you're sitting by yourself writing a novel, what type of writer are you? I mean, to be honest with you, I think I'm both. I'm both.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's just a blend. My short answer is that I plan the plot and the structure and my characters or NPCs like a villain. I outline the adventure in that I know the beginning and the end very clearly. A lot of the time, this is not everything I've ever run, but most of the time. And then I gardener the rest. Yep. I put my little boat in the water with my players on it, and I let it run downstream. I know that the stream starts here, and the little river runs down to over there. But how they get from here to there is entirely gardener almost, with me just every now and then bringing them maybe back into being back on the thing. If I wasn't running a show, I would be much more gardener than I am architect. But a lot of the time, because we run this like a show and we quite often have a predicted set of episodes or a number of episodes or that kind of thing, we we end up having to be a bit more architectural about it. But I think having a beginning and an end pretty much in your head laid out, then you just let them because you can just be like, you need to go there, go to Mount Doom,
Mhm.
and then just go, and then they go, how? You go, I don't know, how do you do that? Go, let's see how you do that. Is my favorite way of GMing. I'm currently exclusively gardener.
Yeah, right now, yeah. you
And
are.
it is
Well, that's not
very
entirely
fun.
true.
Right,
That's not entirely
I've
true.
I've engineered the world
Yeah.
and created a big understanding for myself of the world they're in, and then just place them in it, and it's
Yeah.
But it feels
Gardeners,
much
even
more
gardeners
gardener
have
than
to have gardeners have to have a flower bed. You know, they
Yeah.
have
Yep.
to have.
That's
They
what
have
I've
to
done.
know-
I have an intricate
Yeah.
flower bed.
Yeah. So I think like this is such an interesting question, and I think it's a trap a lot of people fall into. And for whatever reason, I've been lucky enough to not really worry so much about throwing out my plans. So I will come up with a general idea of like, and this goes down even to the session as well. So I kind of have like an idea of how the overarching story would be, because I need that to be able to write a villain that makes sense to me. I need to understand like where they're going, or what they might want, what their motives are, for me to be able to have that session one or whatever. And I have like, I call them actionables, but I'm sure there's other terms for it. But I'll have things or story beats essentially that aren't tied to a specific place or a specific moment in the story. For example, I knew I wanted to do B Team in Deathless, but it didn't matter to me necessarily when we were doing that. But initially I was like, it'll probably be about halfway through is when that would occur. And then we were down a player. Was it Greg? It might have been Greg, which is hilarious to me that this is the example I'm giving.
The worst player.
We were we were down a player it was Greg. He was giving birth. Right. It was Greg and he was giving birth, and it was not that time. No, because I was going to say you were Moog. Yeah, anyway, it doesn't matter. It was like session 3 of Deathless, and I went, this is really too soon to be doing this, but fuck it. That's what we're doing, like ultimately I think having an idea or plotting stuff out, think of it as the plotting is for you. The architect stuff, the designs that you're making is for you and no one else. But as long as you understand that, just trust yourself. If you've got a fucking idea that comes up later, why on earth would you be like, no to the fucking 5-year-old excited you that is like, what about this? This is really cool. Why be like, no, I've already paid for half your college. Like, we're going. This is what we're doing, period. You're stuck for life because I decided previously with the information that I had.
The idea is good.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Well, but I mean, it's going to be because it's, not all ideas are going to be good, but you know what I mean? Like if you're super excited about taking the story in that direction and that's where, the cast is going and they're all jazzed, like just trust that you will be able to, with time and coffee or whatever it is, silence, music, whatever, that you'll be able to go, well, they've gone completely off the fucking rails. Well, what do I do with this now? It's a prompt essentially. Sit down, figure it out, and then take the story in that direction, I guess. Just trust that you'll be able to do it, because you will. Like, you came up with the original story. You'll be fine. You got it.
I think that everything's kind of been said already about this. Like, you need a combination of both. You need a combination of both. You can't be one or the other. It doesn't really work. I think if I think about the most stereotypical identity associated with each of these examples, I feel like architect might potentially better suit the table that is extremely board game focused. Maybe like the hardcore group that doesn't want to role play. They want to play D&D or whatever system they're using as a board game. They like the miniatures. They like dealing the damage. They like the combat. I'm playing a bard and I want to lie to this person and they don't actually say the thing that the bard says. I'm going to lie to them to try and deceive them. Okay, roll a die. Roll a die. You succeed. All right, so I tell them a lie and we get through. Okay. That's the way a huge percentage of people play these games.
Yes, but I think that's because they don't know that they can play it in another way.
Well, yeah.
So I think the session like that, and that's totally fine. You can play it that way. And maybe there are sessions where I want to sit down and just be like, I roll the die, I do the thing. Cool. Because I don't have the energy or the spoons or whatever. That's totally fine. But I think there are a significant amount of players that don't realize that you can, get creative and that you can actually play through that part. So then you as the GM would come in that moment and go, okay, you roll, and then you make up the lie and their reaction is this and that. And you're putting in more effort as the GM in that regard. And then until you go, if you just ask them, this is such like a key thing for me. If you just go, what do you think you say? Or how do you think or you make up the lie for them so they don't have to do that improv on their feet. And they go, what do you think their reaction is to you? And then they begin to play with you. And then eventually you don't have to be in the fucking show at all. You can just have one of your players GM it for you.
Well, show versus
Excellent.
Table, another huge factor in that conversation, right? Show versus player. I think it vastly depends on the circumstances of the situation. Are you doing a show? Are you doing a fucking table?
Yeah.
What do your players want? That goes to that player expectation thing that we just talked about, which is like, what's everybody expecting? Hey, if you're going into a show, that is a way different experience than sitting down at the table. I've only done a few table games in my life so far. I think I've done 3 total. So at those games, I let them know,
3 or 4,
hey, this is going to be super casual. I'm not putting any effort into this. And I was like, I'm sticking to, I think I did a module for each of those. So it was just straight up like, I'm sticking to the module. I'm not really going to role play very much. It's going to take us time to do all of this stuff. If we want to get to a certain point, we're not really, it's minimal role play, everybody, minimal role play. So nice. I think that affects a lot. If you're doing garden writing, that is 99% going to be heavy role play, right? Do we think that that's ever going to happen at one of those other tables? Is that going to happen at like the strategy board game table?
Maybe.
I think that's 2 different groups of players though. I think there are 2 types of people that play predominantly these games. There are just the mechanical, crunchy dice rollers, and then there are the theater kids who are doing therapy quietly, secretly.
Yep.
And those are the only 2 groups. And then sometimes we quite often find we get a weird little blend sitting in front of us.
Yeah.
And then we, as GMs, make sure that everyone gets a little bit of whatever they want. You want to do some combat? We get some combat over here. You want to fucking touch pinkies with Acorn Bandit? We're gonna give you time to do that, you little theater freak. Love you, Mergs.
Oh, I saw another micro expression. La 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 la. Yep.
Or Brad.
You.
To be fair,
Listen,
though,
okay? I could listen to Acorn fucking Bandit read me a phone book and be content. All right. I've known her for a very long time.
I immediately clipped that pinky thing and it's going up on TikTok, and I made it the other day it's scheduled. The thing that you said though, where you were like, I'm not going to put any effort into this, is how I run everything, and then I get fucking stuck.
Yeah, I don't do that. I think I fucking said that to the Deathless crew. I think I was like, it'll be chill, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and then
I also said it to another group that I'm doing an offline game for like once a month, and then immediately I was like,
the player expectation. On the other flip side of that, the GM expectations thing is a thing that I do try and tell them, where I'm like, look, we're kind of playing D&D 5e light with my own weird twist on it, and if it fucking winds you up, sorry, I have something. If it winds you up, then you basically just have to suck it up. Because I have no interest in running anything other than this, and I'm sorry, but this is my character. That's the only thing that's my character. You want to play your character, and I promise you I will do my best to facilitate it, unless you're Maya. And I will try and make sure that you get time to do the thing you're good at, or you get, you know, a moment that's important, or we build your character up, or we have a character arc for you. I promise I will do everything in my power to try and facilitate that. But my character is that we're playing a fuck around version of D&D in which secretly I just want to be running you through a Final Fantasy game. And I can't do that anymore. Because
that was your pitch to me for Darkfire.
Yeah, I mean,
I need
it
to
is
read
what
this
it is.
out loud so that people know my shame and that
doing.
Yep. Greg says the pitch to me was, this will be a chill 6-episode max offline game, camera optional. That is true. That is absolutely the truth. That was the pitch for Deathless. I was like, it'll be 6, maximum of 9. We're on what, episode technically 30 something right now. And we're live with it, and cameras as well, and everybody in cosplay. But I will say there was a point where I sat down and was like, hey, if you guys want to do this, I am game to just let this be my new long form thing. I'm fine. And we just switch. But if we want to keep going, we got to take it live, because I can't not be GMing something long form on Tablestory.
Speaking of pivoting, so, we have many other questions to get through. This was...
It was her birthday present.
Moog's birthday present.
Yeah, I wanted to put her in a room with a bunch of friends she could be horny with. Like, that was it. Where you guys get to play vampires and be,
just our
drink each other's blood.
Yeah, yes, just Moog's in any room where she knows people.
Yeah.
I mean, this question is from our very own resident Piranha Plant, our little PP. He actually asked this question.
He was so good in that fucking episode.
I know. We
Unreal.
can't. No, don't tell him that, because we need him to remain. We got 2 mods. Okay.
Oh, right.
We gotta keep them in their place.
We gotta keep them in their place. Can't let them grow. PP came in and said to me, we were talking a little bit about main character last night, and just watching Whack not give anything away on his face, you know, and prepare, because he knows major shit is coming, you know.
Oh yeah.
So we were sort of talking about this on my channel, and then I just said, why don't we talk about why ask me this when I can ask you two as well? So the question was generally, as a GM, how do you keep your call outwards when the player character is burning, a player had to cancel, or your plans vanish, all the while still in a live show orchestrating players, frantically planning 10 minutes ahead, constantly to keep the story cohesive? So essentially I was saying that, like, as a DM, your brain is on fire when you're in the middle of a show. You're doing so much, especially when you're doing a show on, and you've got OBS and you've got all the other shit going, music and everything, you know, you're really popping. Your brain is completely on fire. And yet, because he said Whack did, originally the question was framed around, how does Whack do that? How is he able to do that? And I said, I don't know if that's a Whack thing. Obviously, Whack is able to do it.
Yes.
But I think all DMs and GMs in the world do it. I think this is just a GM thing where you have to have a poker face all of the time. Even one of the I think the hardest
I don't know
part
about all the time, but yeah.
I think if you're really trying to, like, sell something, or it's all going wrong, every GM knows the feeling of it's all going wrong.
Oh,
and it's
yeah.
For, you know, this is fine.
When shit's going...
They can't know that this is going wrong, or I can't let on. Even if it's just... It's not because you're trying to keep your cards close to your chest, but sometimes it's just you don't want to ruin their immersion and let on that you 100%. Aren't in control and you don't know what's happening either, because it will ruin it. You know, you kind of want to be like, they need to feel like this is like a controlled demolition, when in fact this was not the plan. So I think it's just a DM thing. I think when you're DMing stuff, you will be spinning a billion plates, and you choose when you reveal things to players. You choose when to, you know, whatever certain things happen, because you want it to maximize the... It's not a control thing. I think it is for some people, but it shouldn't be. I think it's a maximize the impact of something you're about to present or whatever. And I think this gives you a really good skill in multitasking, which means when you're doing all the normal GMing stuff and then a player is like, hey, I'm going to be an hour late, and then they're still on a plane, and you're like, but I need you to.
This whole episode.
What do you
is
mean?
around
I'm
your
in
character.
traffic, and you're like, but you just still, your face remains the same because you are good at maintaining that poker face. For me, the time I find it the hardest is when I'm in character as an NPC, usually some sort of important one, like a villain who must also be having his own poker face or something like that. And then they do some shit, and my villain has no choice but to be like, what? Why did you do that? You know, like, or is just clearly dumbfounded or whatever. And you're like, fuck. And it reminds me a little of what Aaron was saying the other week when he was talking about how sometimes when you're in character, you start speaking and you just have to keep waffling and hope that you get to your own point. Like when you're playing a really important and pivotal character as a DM, and you start doing that, it's dangerous because you will undo your entire fucking game. But if you can master the poker face, your players are late, you've got this thing going on, you've just revealed, dude, how many times have you revealed? Sometimes I reveal the wrong piece of information and I'm like, oh, I just told them the end of the campaign and they don't know it. And then I carry on. Keep it. Fucking. Yeah. I mean, it's the only way I can act anyway. I'm the most, all I get is criticism for being, what was it, PB? I sound depressed.
Is that what I said?
Yeah. It's the funniest thing.
Oh,
the funniest criticism.
Fucking tell them the real story and then play it. Play it so they can fucking hear it.
You know who hasn't fucking shut up about it? Maya, because I had to tell him because he did it. So
Did he hear it? Does he agree with me?
I don't know.
Validate me, Meyer.
The podcast versions of our shows have little things that are like, thanks for watching, blah, 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 at the end of them. The funniest thing in the world to her, by the way, the way she went in on me this day. So she's like this is, so PB was showing me how to do it. Well, I haven't done the podcast stuff before. So she was showing me through how to do it all, blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, you know, learning all this.
I'm in massive amounts of pain, by the way. But I would have absolutely said it to you this way normally anyway.
So she's like, just record a little thing at the end that says something like this, and she very nicely typed out like an idea of what it was. Thanks for watching. You should, if you want to check out more stuff, go over here. Blah, blah, blah.
You want to support us?
If you've listened to the podcast
blah, blah, blah.
versions, you'll know what it sounds like because they're at the end of them. And so I got up the next day and I was exhausted as well. Like I think it was the day after the premiere of SideQuest or something. Like, it was somewhere in there.
It was like
absolutely
you had GM
exhausted.
brain for sure. Yeah.
I had that exam and then I went straight into this and then I had this other thing that I did and then I think I had like a doctor appointment or something that day. I was just like completely exhausted, right? So I get up and I was like, fuck, I better record this thing. So I recorded a version that was just as best as I can do, right? I was like, this sounds fine. I didn't think it sounded great, but I also didn't care. It's just an information package. It doesn't need to sound like amazing. I'm not a voice actor. I'm not a presenter. I'm bad at that shit. Okay.
Yes, you are, and no, you're not.
I am not compared to good ones. And I'm like, okay, there we go. So I did it, recorded it, uploaded the whole thing, sent the thing, was about to send it to the feeds and everything. And PB sends me a message that just goes, why do you sound depressed?
No.
Hey.
Listen,
delete it all. Took it all down, dude. I was like, fuck, dude, delete. And then she's like, why don't you just get Maya to do it?
Okay, hold on. Yeah.
So why don't you get Maya to do it, dude? And I was like, fine, I will. And now Maya did it. And that's why Maya is the voice at the end of SideQuest.
Obviously, he has.
That's why Maya is the voice
story,
at
but
the
it's
end
pretty
of
close. It's pretty close to the truth. Because normally, here's the thing: is that normally I would find the most lovely, nice way to say that, but I'm in pain.
Absolutely.
And I was just like, you sound so depressed. We cannot use that.
I did. I mean, I was exhausted beyond belief. I said...
and And I know because you've done stingers before that don't sound like that.
Yeah,
So it was just, it was
I hate
more
doing
like,
them though, to
you're
be
going to
fair.
hear this in a year and be like, Jesus, why did you let me do that?
The thing is, I hate doing them anyway. I would much rather hear Maya's voice at the end of this fucking thing than me. If
I also was
could,
like,
oh God,
don't
if I
worry
could-
about episode 1. Just change it for the future episodes.
Never.
But he was like, no, I have to.
Well, I knew the thing
immediately-
is, I knew that I
Yeah.
could just be like, Maya, do this for me right now, please, because PB is screaming at
I have
me.
to. I have to look because I need to know if I was super harsh with you about it or not.
And well, the thing is, so then
I'm
Maya
sure
was
that I
like,
was.
Maya was like, why am I doing it? And then I was like, I have to be honest with him, and so I just told him, which is
no.
why over the last few weeks, every now and then, Maya has almost exclusively only said hello to me by waiting until I speak and then going, why do you sound depressed? And it is killing me.
Ow!
It's how he joined he came in. I think I said something. It might have been like the first thing I no,
God.
you know what it was? You played the audio whack in last night's episode. He wrote it immediately in the thing. And no one knew why he wrote, why does he sound depressed in there? And it was the funniest thing in the world to me.
God.
Dude, unbelievable. Do you know what the other thing I like about it though is? And I'll tell you, this is my silver lining from that. We don't get to hear Maya speak much in side quest because he's playing an orc that has like he's like, you know, and we get to see his we get to hear his nice little voice in the podcast version at the end of it. So I'm actually glad that we changed it to Maya and not my horrible
I can't
voice.
find the spot where I told you it was terrible. I just
Annihilated. How did we
I'm
go
like
off
telling
on
you,
such
I
a
have
tangent?
to go. My legs are actually shaking. I'm in so much pain. Goodbye. But I can't find where I told you to fucking fix it.
I don't know. We went off on a tangent there, but like, is there?
Yeah.
And we'll bullet point it now. We're gonna have to bullet point it.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
do you
yeah.
have like what? How do you keep your cool in those situations? Do you have like a technique, or is it just like learned at this point, just to deal with? Is it trauma? Could be trauma.
I was gonna say like I think for me it's when shit's going wrong, I'm fine with that. Like I have no problem because as a GM, your player's experience should dominate everything else. And then, you know, because we're table story, then comes like, you know, the viewer experience and whatnot. So for me, it's easy when shit's breaking, like Brad said, you're like, oh God, I don't want to let them know because they're having fun and playing. And, you know, I just don't want them to have anxiety or have to worry about how do we help fix this if it's a tech issue or, you know, whatever, or even if the story's going off the rails. I get excited about that a little bit. So for me, I'm like, oh my God, something I'm not expecting is about to happen. So you know, you're either going through problem solving mode, your brain switches into problem solving mode, and then you just don't have time to have an emotion on your face that is revealing. I feel like anyway, like when that kind of stuff is going on, not a problem with that. For me, it's harder because I think I will actually have reactions to stuff. Like when I'm actually trying to hide something, I'm pretty good at that. I can be like that. I just put it in a compartmentalized section of my brain and I will not have a reaction. But if someone does something that I'm like, ooh, that's interesting, I'll react to that. And then people are like, oh God, this is related to the, you know, like they think it's more revealing than it actually is. And really, I'm just getting excited about your character choice.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of an instance where there was something. I basically in Blade Runner wrote off that I would be able to hide anything from Wax Steven because he can read my micro expressions. So I knew that that was probably going to happen. Did I surprise you at all in that show at any moment, Wack? I feel like there might have been
Nothing
one
has ever
moment.
surprised Wack in his entire life.
I don't think that's true. I don't think. Yeah, I basically was like, I won't be able to hide anything from Wack. One, because it's Wack, and two, because it's, you know, he's a GM.
I don't
Very
know
good one.
what you had control over versus player agency and like what, you know, I don't know. So I'm not sure. But there were some like player choices that I think you were aware of.
Yeah.
That probably surprised me. So
Cool.
I guess that
I can
counts.
die happy. Yep.
You,
die
though,
happy.
PB, are
Mhm.
one of the most like just expressionable, emotive
Yeah.
people.
Mhm.
There's a GIF, right? Let me. It's not a view. We're not doing this
Okay.
again.
I was like, oh, Jesus Christ.
It's you know when Aragorn sees Gandalf the White, and
Yes.
and he goes, "It cannot be," and he's like, "It cannot be." That's you. Anytime anyone rolls a number,
Yeah, I know.
a number. Hey, not 33, not 99, not 1. 52.
It's exciting.
52. Hey, what's the worst number? I know what it is on a D20. It's 13. What's the worst on a D100? 52.
No, it's 100 or 99.
No. I mean the worst, like as in nothing is like the least.
Yeah, nothing happens for
Nothing's really happening,
yeah.
and you almost have to struggle as a DM to be like, you've successfully done
Stretch
this or
it
not.
to something. Yeah.
For me, it's a 13. If you're like,
See, I
do
don't
a
think that
perception
happens
check
with a
and you roll a 13.
D100, which is why I like it.
Yeah, dude.
But that's, yeah.
Everyone, by the way, you're just gonna have to
Because for
Google it.
D20, it's like
Google
14 or
Aragorn
15 is my
saying
least
it
favorite.
cannot be the GIF. That's PB on a 52. And that is why you have terrible poker face.
Yeah.
I
I was expecting you to say that I didn't have one, but I think I hid gone from you. I think I hid all that shit.
You have a good one when it really matters, but most
when
of
it's
the
the
time
show,
you just
yeah. When
let
when it's the story and it's protecting my player experience, I'm great. When it's lying to the fucking guy who's asking me if I'm having a party, and I have to just go, no, all of these snacks are for my fast.
I forgot about that. Yes. I can't believe you didn't lie to him.
Dude would have lied through my teeth immediately. Oh my god, such an easy lie.
I could have just said, yeah, it's gonna be a time, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
Oh, that's so great.
No, it's just the look of pity on his face.
He gave you an all buddy in real life.
Yeah, he gave me a free drink, which is essentially the same thing.
Yep. Oh, amazing. I think so. For me, the
Marks doesn't even know the story. It was so embarrassing. I didn't even tell her. Ow.
It's so you touched on having too much shit going on simultaneously to even allow yourself a reaction. I think is a factor for me. Also experience. I have seen so much crazy shit happen over the years on all of the shows that there's still stuff that surprises me, but I feel like it's been numbed quite a bit. That like I've seen some just stupid choices. I've seen some really smart choices. I've seen incredibly weird choices. So like I don't know how different you can get from any of those things that you can really get me to react. But like I've had players guess some story points before, and I know that I need to keep my cool, and I think that that is like the only time where I'm really activating poker face. That's where I'm consciously thinking about it. And how do I do that? If you're looking for a technique, what I would say is try to think about something else. That's kind of what I do. It's like I realize what's happening, and then I'm like, okay, let's think about something else that we need to do coming up. We've got this thing that I need to make sure is on the screen or whatever. I'll think about a production thing. Or I will think about another story element that is coming up that I also need to focus on.
I just realized I do actually have an answer to that, and it is exclusively when Greg figures out the fucking story. It's Greg. He figures out the fucking story.
Greg.
And he says it in front of everybody. And I'm like, don't react, Peebs. And then he talks himself out of it in front of everyone. And I'm like, man, I wish I could just record. I wish I could just like say something in this moment to go back and be like, bro, you had it like 4 different times throughout the entire show. And then you talked yourself out of it. But I think that's the hardest moment for me, is when somebody just blurts out casually. They're not even really thinking about like anything. They're just even joking. And then you have to not react. That's the hardest one for me. Like if the show is actually going on, no problem. But if it's the green room or we're casually chatting beforehand, I am like, that's hard for me to keep the poker face going. And I do think about story elements. I'm like, okay, I will immediately start thinking about something else. Yeah.
The worst thing that you can do in a stream, so like, I think this is also a trick you learn as a streamer in general.
Yeah.
Which is when you have a big reaction, chat can see it really easily, and they will lock in on it. So if something bad happens and you react to it, you're acknowledging that it was a bad thing, right? You're like, oh, like somebody just doxed me or something in chat. If I react,
I just showed my credit card number on the
like
screen.
if you react to it, if you react to that stupid mistake that you've made, then they're gonna lock in on it and they're gonna, oh, what was that? And like you have to be cognizant of that, and like don't react becomes a bit of training when you're streaming, because you're a human being. You're gonna make mistakes. It's gonna happen. So you have to be able to like not get destroyed from a mistake. You need to think quickly and you need to try and play it down. So that's, you get a little bit of training from that, just being a streamer. But straight up techniques, I would say think about some of your other story elements, think about some of the other things that are happening, and just try and take your mind off of the thing so you don't react. That would be my big piece of it.
Enter a DM flow state and just become... I mean, a lot of the time I end a session and I have no idea who was running it. I just come out of a 3-hour trance and I'm like, what? Did I do that? All right, next one is the question from the chat room from Moswolf. How do you guys balance having a character with more knowledge of the goings-on of the campaign compared to the rest of the cast? What is your process for revealing enough for them to work with in their own lore while still giving everyone surprises along the way? Whack has just done this.
Yep. Whack, you go first.
Okay. A character knows more in the lore than the rest. I think, again, this comes down to communication. You talk with your player and you say, let's establish what you know, and just kind of say, like, hey, try and figure out what angle you would like to approach with this. I want to give the players agency, even though something like that happens. It has recently happened in a few shows, and I will take that approach, which is let's establish what this character knows. Let's talk to the player about it, and maybe say, how do you want to handle this? Get their feedback, and you bounce ideas off of each other. You can go in there with a plan, but plans usually go to shit. And it's a collaborative environment anyway. So I feel like for me, bouncing ideas off of the people that are affected by this is really important. So, for example, with Brad's character, we had to talk about some stuff that his character's aware of, and we bounced ideas back and forth off of each other, and we said, okay, why does he know this? What is he trying to do in this moment? And maybe let's keep things vague, or stuff like that. It's bouncing each other's ideas off of each other. And Brad asked me several questions. He was like, what about this? And what's the reason that this is happening? Said, oh, I don't know. I didn't think about that. And I'll try and break it down. And sometimes my answer is, I don't know yet. Let me think on it.
Yep.
Because I don't have all the answers all the time. There's just so many moving pieces for a lot of this stuff. And some things are major story elements. And it's like, I don't think that I want to answer this immediately. I think I want to think about this a little bit because this can affect the rest of the campaign based on my answer to you. Just stay really communicative with those characters and figure out what you want to expose. Really.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Brad, do you have an answer?
I rarely have characters that have a significant amount of knowledge more than other characters. Because I'm at heart, I am a control freak. Like I'm diagnosed OCD. I literally have a control disorder to a degree. And one of the things that I enjoy about DMing is it's really actually taught me how to relinquish that control. I've become a much less controlling individual, which I know is like an ugly thing. I mean, it probably is an ugly personality trait that would have gone worse in
therapy question.
Everyone
Therapy question.
likes control of their environment and their feelings.
Therapy question. Brad is OCD. Does that have anything to do with why he loves chaos so much?
No. I think it is.
No.
I think that I think it exclusively is that chaos makes everyone be on a level playing field, and that is my favorite place to be. I've sort of learned how to relinquish a lot of control, because when you're DMing, you don't have to, but I think in order to be a good DM, you have to be able to let shit go. What has happened to you?
I found it.
Someone
what you
rolled
said.
A 52.
Nope.
Yeah, someone rolled a 50.
I said, you sound like you want to die.
The criticism, by the way. Imagine this is the criticism you get from a
You
fellow.
sound like you want to die, ha ha ha. In this footer, I'm crying.
I changed it, and then I immediately deleted it. So,
I didn't even find a nice way to say it, dude. I'm so sorry. I can only blame pain. I'm sorry. Normally, I would find a much nicer
and
way
now
to
two of
say
us are in pain. It's fine. I mean, I've definitely had worse criticism. So because I'm sort of controlling, I keep everything to me. Like I'm the one with all of the knowledge, because I want as many cards to play in the game. My favorite thing is to be like, and then this happens and everyone goes, what? Like that reaction. If everyone knows every twist, everything that's going to happen, then it's like, they'll still have a great reaction. They'll still have a great time. But it's just it's almost like a little gift. I get to be like, here's a little gift of something cool. And then everyone's like, oh, that's cool. And you're like, you're welcome. And then by the way, here's another one. I love that. It's like, I just really enjoy GMing that way. So quite a lot of the time and I would say probably to my detriment quite often, I will withhold a decent amount of information from people. So my balance of making characters have knowledge is they don't give them any. I just give them what they need to know. But I generally don't try and balance it. If one character does know more than another, I don't really balance it. I give them an equal amount of information on something like the world. Be like, this is the world. This is what it's called. And if that character knows more about some sort of, I don't know, they have a connection with an extra planar entity that has given them crazy knowledge on something, I just give that character that knowledge because that character knows it. And it's now up to you to figure out what you want to know about it. If it's something that I want them to be very careful about, I'll just tell them.
Yeah.
Just for the sake of like the plot.
How do you do that?
I just direct her. I'll just straight up be like, look, just for the
Okay.
sake of the plot, don't ruin that straight away. You know, maybe
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
maybe don't share that immediately.
Mhm.
But again, I can't even think of an example that I've really done that. But that's the only way I think I would do it. Would just be like, you know, play that card close to your chest is probably how I would word it. Be like, just this one. Or I would maybe, if I really wanted to sort of keep them immersed, I would say something like,
This is what
secret.
you're about to say. Yeah.
In
Like
world.
not many people know this. Yeah, that's what I do.
You know,
I
you're,
make it seem like
you're
it's
part of a syndicate and you're
Yeah.
in the Thieves Guild. So don't tell people that. You wouldn't tell people that. No one does. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
If I wanted to do it that way. But I think for the most part, our players, if you go, this is your special little bit of information, they already know what, you know.
Yeah.
I trust so many of my players with that kind of thing to just be like, reveal that when you want. I did it with side quest.
Yeah.
And it was 3 episodes, 2.
Yep,
What are we
right
in?
away. Yeah.
And was like, you know, just whenever you want, you know.
3. Yeah.
So yeah, it's more for me. It's less about really. I don't feel like I really ever control it or balance it manually.
Yeah.
I just go, here it is. This is your understanding of it. Do with that information what you will. Play your character, you know, figure it out. And then I'll just roll with the punches because there's already going to be a billion things happening that I'm poker facing. So if you just blow this piece of information in there as well, then fucking, you know, we roll with it. We bowl.
So this is an interesting, because I'm thinking about it since WAC
Just a reminder,
started. Oh
we're
yeah.
getting close to PB tells a story.
No.
You would like PB to tell.
I'm telling the story
hilarious-
right now. No.
If you would like
It's-
PB to tell a hilarious story,
Cool.
and it will be hilarious or else.
Oh God. Okay. I like that you changed it to tells a story instead of what you had said originally.
What was
today,
it
which
originally?
No.
It was PB shows I dig.
Oh yeah. So I was thinking about this because I was trying to think like, oh, I was doing that dumbass thing of like, do I even do this? Yes. I can't think of a single fucking campaign where someone didn't have knowledge that the rest of the party didn't have. I love that, apparently. And I'm thinking about, you know, the ways in which I do it. I think it's more that because I'm similar to Brad in that I like the gift giving of surprising your players with the experience that they're having. I like the
We're all pretty
reaction.
similar like that, but main character has an insane plot point that required it. So it's actually a really interesting and unique study, you know, because it's quite isolated.
Yeah.
That WAC has done this.
Yeah. Well, I think so. I think I've done it all the way even back in Nocturne. Like I think every single show I've ever had, at least one player has some information that the rest. What? Oh, that the rest of the party doesn't have. And like if you think about it with Deathless, there's actually some stuff that hasn't even been revealed yet that players know, but they don't realize it's important until, you know, somebody else reveals it in game, which I think is really cool. So I think part of what I like doing with the gift giving, I really like surprising, you know, my players with stuff, but I also really enjoy watching them figure stuff out together. And I like watching the expression of someone going, wait, that meant something? Like this backstory piece that I gave you, wait, is that related to this? Like, what? You know, that is a fun experience as well. And I like watching lore get revealed through another player and giving that control over to somebody else to see how they do it and the ways in which they do it. I think Meyer is the only player that I've ever been like, yep, straight up, this is the situation. Do whatever you want. And I will talk GM to him where I go, yeah, it'd be cool if you mentioned that. Sure. But maybe towards the end. Otherwise, I'm like, you know this stuff, blah, blah, blah. Do whatever your character would do. I like to give the information as if it was their character's knowledge. And I usually don't give direction with it at all. And if I were, if it was something that I think should be kept quiet narratively, then there's a reason in game why it would be kept quiet. For example, one of the characters in Deathless being a fucking werewolf. That wasn't planned. That was just, somebody wanted to play that kind of a creature in this vampire game. And I was like, fuck yeah, sure, we'll do that. But you don't want to fucking reveal that to the rest of the, because they'll kill you or, it'll be whatever. So I'm fine with that. I love doing that. I love giving one player not necessarily more knowledge, but different knowledge that might then help the campaign at some point. I think that's great. Yeah. I've done that in every show I've ever run. What does that say about me? Does that say anything about me? Guys, what does that mean?
I that's what I do as well.
Will
so.
never sleep again.
It's what I do as well, and it's so much more fun to do it that way. It is what I really love doing that I think is quite hard to weave in is what you touched on, where you got the exchange of character creation, where you come to a group of people and you go, "This is the world. It's made of mushrooms. Everyone's a mushroom person." And they go, "Okay." And I go and make a character that fits within this world. Here are the rules. Here's the characters, the species you can be with. They go away and they come back and they go, "Okay, look, do you think it'd be cool if I did this and my mushroom person was in fact a banana? But no one knows." And you go, "Yeah, that's cool." And then another one comes in and is like, "Yeah, I was actually thinking that, like, what if my parents were a banana?" And I go, "Uh-huh." And already... Yep. And 10 episodes in, they go, "Oh, I found this scroll." And, you're like, "Yeah, you've just spent 3 episodes investigating your old family home. And you find a scroll that has your
motherfucker
family
did that to
tree.
Me in Dying Order." Yeah.
Your family tree on it. And they go, "Wait, this says that my surname is Banana Boy."
Yeah.
And then the other character, Malcolm Banana Boy, goes, "What?"
Yeah.
And you've weaved in a thing, or an NPC shows up, or you're actually linked to the villain, or something happened to it. It is so fun.
Or what actually happened in Dying Order, which was he spent the whole fucking campaign being like, "Oh, this takes place like centuries away from Darkfire, so we're not going to run into any of the people from Darkfire and blah blah blah. Just to be extremely clear, blah blah blah." And I'm fucking roaming around, and we get to this like crypt thing, and I open this sarcophagus type thing. And he's like, "There's a fucking whip in here and something else." And I was like, "Ooh, what does it smell like?" And he's like, "You tell me." And then I realized, it is ingrained in my mind. That reveal was so cool. I cried, you guys. I cried. I was like, "No, you did not just do this."
Like a big moment.
Yeah, it's not as special as you think it is. Like, that happens when people roll a 52. The 52 is now the most. If anyone rolls a fucking 52 on Sunday...
It's so weird that you picked that number, because that's John's number
it cannot be.
Yeah,
it cannot be.
A 52.
Yeah, no, I love that. I
rolled
love
that number once on a show 7 years ago.
It was a very particular number.
But that exchange where you provide them with a little world, they make a character, they bring their backstory to you, and then you you can take those elements, weave them into the narrative, and try and present them. Or you can non-architect it. A gardener opportunity arrives, and you're like, "Oh, what if? Oh, fuck! Hang on, you fire a what gun?" And they're like, "Yeah, an MP5," and you're like, "Check behind your ear." And they're like, "Oh fuck!" And they've got to load it up.
It's so fucking Arrested Development, where she's just like,
dude, the fact that on. I think it was Inside Quest. Was it Inside Quest? Yeah. They were like, "How much could a wagon cost?" And then I said, "How much is a banana really, Michael?" Like,
Yeah.
None of them heard me say it. And I was alone.
No!
I was alone. I don't think any of them, either they've never seen it, didn't get it.
Yep.
But they were doing exactly that. And it was great. But yeah, I love that. That little moment where you get to weave in a character backstory and then present it to them is truly one of my favorite moments. All right, well, we didn't quite unlock PB tells us a story. I'm sorry to all of the people who
goddamn catastrophe.
A true catastrophe.
Will never know.
She was there.
That doesn't stop her from knowing or not knowing, though.
Nothing can stop her.
She came up to me afterwards. She was like, I fucking knew it. I knew that's what you were up
to.
Okay, anyway.
We got to get PB out of here anyway. She hasn't got time to tell a story. She's going to die.
I'm dying. I actually have to pee, and it's like a whole event. I gotta like lift the desk up, and then I gotta slowly. It's gonna take me like 5 minutes to get over there.
The entire process.
Oh, yeah, okay. This is the
and
story
we learned
surprise.
another.
Another weird twisted fetish that Brad doesn't have that he now will forever have online.
Golden showers. Now we know.
I just can't imagine anything worse. Truly, send me as many feet pics as you want. Do not. Come.
Oh yeah, it's no big deal. Just send me feet pics. That's fine.
Keep your nasty piss away from me. I'm kidding. Imagine that was the thing. It wasn't feet at all. Gross. No, disgusting. Unless I've been stung by a fucking sea urchin or whatever. And even then, I think I might be like, you know what? I think I'll live with this.
I think I'll be fine. Just drive me to the hospital. It'll be fine.
I think I'm good.
Also, isn't it a jellyfish?
I don't know.
And that doesn't even work. I think they've debunked that. That's not even a thing. People just
I'm a river
some
hobbit.
motherfucker pissed on their friend and was like, this helps the sting, and then got away with it, and then caused everyone else to believe that that's actually a thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Ridiculous.
For sure, some shit.
Joey's fault.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I was born near a river. You were born near a lake. I don't know what that thing is. Manhattan Island. What is that?
What do you mean?
The body of water.
You just said it. It's an island. What
is the body of water?
What is the
called?
body of water? It's a lake.
Near a river, the Hudson River.
It's a river.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's
like Hudson Hawk?
It's what did Maya come at me with?
I love that movie.
An inlet or whatever he said it was.
Oh yeah, that's right.
A firth. Is it a firth?
Firth.
Yeah, well there you go. How would any of us know about jellyfish or sea urchins? How could we possibly know? Why?
Because I grew up on a tropical island where I almost stepped on a sea urchin when I was like 6.
Yeah.
Sea cucumbers as well.
Did you have to pee on
No,
it?
I said I almost stepped on it. I didn't actually.
Did you do it just
Yeah, I
to
used
be
to-
safe though?
No.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back. I don't
what
know
a fun story
what
that was.
the plan is at the moment with non-effort because PB's literally
I'm sorry, guys.
Well, genuinely
actually,
disabled at the moment.
My chair should be here next week. Hopefully in time for me to maybe GM
I
something.
like the idea that you think the chair.
I can't
is going
believe
to
she
enable
thinks
Listen,
the
I
chair
need
is
it. I need that to be the carrot because otherwise I just sit and cry.
The thing is, this carrot is going to arrive. And
I know. I don't care. That's a future PB problem. That bitch can handle it when it arrives and doesn't stop anything.
$6,000 carrot shows up and is not a carrot at all.
Oh, okay.
All right. Well,
Right.
I think I can run the credits.
So
They're
here's
never
the thing.
the
You
actual
can run the credits. But you know what I loved about today's session, guys? Everyone that's listening
Is it that
I
you
tried
weren't
to
sat listening to it, desperately wanting to be involved but unable to physically move?
Yeah, it was nice to just sit and talk with you guys. But my favorite part was actually I started to tell them a story that I was really excited about at the beginning and, before we went live. And Wack was like, you know what? Why don't we save it for the episode? And I'm realizing now that he just wanted me to stop talking.
Well, no, we were going to tell it, but we didn't earn enough money. So not only will...
Well, which one did you want me to tell in
Not
that moment?
only-
Did you want me to tell that one or did you want me to...
Whichever.
Yeah, that
one.
was the original plan. Was that you tell that
Because
story.
I thought you wanted my lake story.
No.
Oh, okay.
That was the original joke.
Yeah, that's the original joke. Was
version.
that story?
But
I mean, it's a very short story.
you were
The best
gonna
part
tell-
is the end, the doctor. Sorry, I'm so sorry.
You were going to tell that story, and ultimately, not only did you get interrupted
Mm-hmm.
and not get to tell us that story, but you also
I told you she
didn't
knows the story.
get to tell anyone that story.
I know.
And
I know.
also,
It's
we're
fine.
all going to go hungry because you didn't get to tell that story.
I know.
So just make sure you're on.
Maybe next time.
Yeah, just make sure you're using. So don't use too many rations this week, guys, if you don't mind. We've only got
Okay.
so many food rations to go around here at
Yeah.
Tablestory.
See, I told you, Mergs knew instantly as soon as I said the lake story. I was there.
Oh yeah, the lake story. Oh, she thinks that's the story. No, we weren't going to tell that story. I would never make you tell that story, even though I'm like
sure.
pretty sure you have. On
I
stream.
may have. No, I don't think I've told it on stream before, have I?
You might have told it on one of the early episodes.
Yeah, I want to say.
I
Jesus.
feel like you did.
I want to
All
say
right.
you said it years ago
Okay.
on a
Yeah, it was
stream.
probably years ago.
somewhere.
I had sex in a lake and got the worst UTI of my life. But that's not the best part of the story. The best part is the fucking doctor's reaction, you guys. I went in there. I told her what fucking happened. Bitch set her clipboard down, turned to me and was like, we're supposed to be better than them.